Hello and welcome to the Culture Swally, a podcast dedicated to Scottish news and pop culture. My name is Nicky, and I'm joined as always by the man who has just finished getting ready for the pod by dancing around naked to T-Rex. Thankfully, the webcam was off at that time. It's Greg. How are you today, Greg? Having a bit of hot love earlier on, were you?
Yeah, well, I was just, I'm on what I hope is the back end of yet another bloody cold. I'm sure listeners with children can sympathise. They bring these things back from school. My wife works at a school as well, so it's like a triple threat in our house. So my voice is a wee bit deeper than usual, but I'm soothing it with this rather tasty German IPA called Drunken Sailor, which is other IPAs are available, but it's very pleasant. Very pleasant indeed.
So, very good. Well, because obviously we don't want to get into trouble, so I'm having a Brewdog IPA at the moment, so other IPAs are available, of course.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Very good.
If I were on the BBC, we would have to say, because of the unique way the BBC is funded, to be impartial.
It's a bastard at that time. I'm the same. I'm just recovering from a cold as well. I think on the last episode, it was just starting, because when I was editing, I was like, guys, my voice sounds a little bit deep. I didn't have to put any extra bass on my voice. Whereas it's kind of just coming towards the end now. But yeah,
wait a minute. You wouldn't usually put extra bass on your voice, would you? When you're editing?
Sometimes I put a little bit of extra bass on both of our voices, Greg. Yeah.
So you really?
Yeah.
I did see you huffing Olbus nose spray in the last episodes. That's how you got it. Yeah.
To be fair, I usually do huff this during a podcast record, just because it's nice to clear the airways and make it nice. My little Olbus inhaler. I do have use one of them regularly. So, but yeah, it's a bastard having coming off a cold. But never mind, we're both on the mend. That's the main thing. Is everything else good with you?
All is well. I'm just looking at the window. They've threatened us with some rain today in Dubai. It's quite late in the year for rain, so it looks like it might. Hopefully, it won't upset our interweb connection. If it does, we'll just deal with it if we have to.
Well, we'll look forward to that weather update as the episode progresses. but before the weather, should we have a look at the news and see what's been happening in Scotland in the last couple of weeks?
Cue the jingle.
Hello, this is the Outer Hebrides Broadcasting Corporation, and here is what's been going on in the news.
Okay, Greg, so what have you seen in Scotland in the last couple of weeks that has caught your lovely cold-ridden eye?
Yeah, the lovely bloodshot, weeping eyes. So it's been a great couple of weeks for news. Well, not the sort of news that we like to cover on the Culture Swally. I did find one that is sort of up our street. That comes from the Mail Online. The kind of headline is, "My neighbour won't stop peeking in my window when she takes her dog out, so I wrote her a brutal note, but was I too harsh?" So this is an angry tenant. She's revealed how her neighbour keeps kind of peering in her window when she's walking her dog. She's posted on Reddit because she said that she's exhausted all options to try and get the neighbour to stop. They're thought to be from Scotland. I think because she's posting under the name u/tenants -grouse, there's every chance that she is from, or at the very, if she's not in Scotland, then she's Scottish. She explained how her neighbour takes her dog out to go to the toilet, and she can't help but peer in her window, having a good look at me going about my daily business, whatever that involves. They explained no amount of civil requests for her to stop, escalating rapidly to mouthed fuck offs, seemed to have stopped her. So I taped a small orange post-it note to the window saying, in capital letters, "Kindly mind your own business. When the woman spoke to her father about what she'd done, he made her question her actions because he said it was out of order. But other Reddit commenters were on her side. Explaining how the neighbour is able to look through the window, the woman wrote that she used to have blinds, but they broke, and I replaced them with curtains just the other day. Fed up, she posted the note, but her father didn't seem very supportive. She explained, mentioned this to my old man today, whilst returning his ladder/tools. He thinks doing that is out of order, but I disagree. Many people agreed with the original poster and told her she'd done the right thing, and some even said she hadn't gone far enough. One person suggested, I would have been more in her face about it. Go out to the communal area where she is there and just stare at her silently the whole time while she's walking her dog. See how she likes it. While another said, your only mistake is using a post-it note rather than a poster board, but I suppose you don't want to completely block your view of the yard. The thing is, if you post a wee post-it note on your window, the woman might have to sort of lean in to read it. Depends how big her writing is.
Yeah, of course.
It might blow up in her face. Someone said, here's a thought. If she does this again, snap a pic on your phone, print it out, and put it in a community board, or post it on the community Facebook saying, can anybody identify this peeping Tom?
I like that. That's a good one.
Yeah. That user's handle is asshole aficionado 13. Pretty in pink 81. Oh, this might be you, Nicky. Says, but you are escalating the situation. Buy one-way mirror film to put in your windows so that you have privacy during the day when the sun is out. Some people did try to explain why the woman might be looking through the window. One person said, so what does NTA stand for? She says, so NTA, I don't know what that stands for. I had to get some millennial. Should I have asked my daughter?
What's the context of it? Because I would say it was the National Television Awards.
Yeah. I mean, well, Philip Schofield has got some time in his hands now, so maybe. She said, sometimes when I walk my dog, I just stare into space, and there are windows everywhere. And during the day, I just see my own reflection. So sometimes I'm kind of vaguely looking at my reflection, wondering why the dog finds that spot so interesting. Then I abruptly realise I look like I'm staring, and then I look down at the same spot my dog is looking at shamefully. Someone said, Worth Season 3645 says, flasher every time she looks in. Or Mooner, that'll stop her. Hold up a sign saying, can I help you? Or, this is not a mirror. Or any crazy thing you can think of. For some of my windows, I buy this stuff you can get at your local Home Depot or Amazon. Sort of like a privacy window cling. The only thing is, you can't really see out of it. Supreme Court Just Ass says what she's doing is an incredible violation of your privacy. You need to report her to whoever the landlord is and explain what's going on. But that only works if people have shame. Do what you got to do. So this is anonymous. I'm not sure. Let's see what her. She's tenants grouse, probably in Glasgow. I would imagine.
I can imagine. It's difficult if you've got a shared garden or something, then, but it's one of those things that you find it difficult maybe not to look in, because living in Amsterdam, no one seems to have curtains, and a lot of the ground floor apartments, like round where I live, or like when I go running, like a lot of houses and apartments, they just don't have blinds or curtains, and you can't help it. Like you have a look in, and it is true. You kind of switch off, and you just happen to glance in, especially if I'm out walking the dog and he's sniffing something, and you just look up and you make eye contact with someone sitting having their dinner, and you're like, oh fuck, or you'll see someone playing FIFA or something, and it's difficult not to. I mean, even our neighbour across the way in the apartment, he doesn't have curtains, and we've seen him whacking off to porn, like on a couple of occasions. I've sent you a photo on one point of him standing up completely naked, pleasuring himself to to hardcore pornography. But it's difficult not to look into these things. However, it sounds like this woman isn't just having like a little glance. She's staring in to see what this poor woman's up to, which again is a massive invasion of privacy. But she said maybe she's just trying to read the post-it note or just checking what she's doing.
Yeah, maybe checking her makeup. I do think, if you want to put something bigger than a wee post-it note on the window, if you're... and I imagine she must have written on the back of the post-it note and then stuck it inside. Because if you stick it on the outside the window, it's just going to blow away or get washed off in the rain. Yeah. So... Anyway,
I think she should just invest in a new set of blinds, to be honest. Like, that's going to cause... Because if she said she had blinds, but they broke, now she's got curtains, why didn't she just get blinds again?
I know. I know. This woman could have been staring into that window for years, but she would never have known until she got her curtains. I mean, I have lived in houses... Like, when we lived in England, the pavement outside was quite busy. You know what I mean? Like, just with people kind of sort of coming and going, and nobody was sort of staring in. But yeah, I mean, I sort of empathise a little bit with her. It's shite when you live like on a busy street or something, and especially if your living room window, where you probably spend the most time, looks out, and there's people sort of walking by and whatnot. But yeah. I mean, her dad thinks it's out of order to stick a wee post-it note on the window saying, mind your own business.
I think she's well within her rights to, really. I mean, the most obvious thing would be to just have a word with this woman and ask her politely, like, can I help you? Or why are you staring in my window rather than just putting a post-it note up? Mm-hmm. Don't know.
Anyway, that's my first story this week. What you starting off with?
My first story this week, Greg, comes from the Scottish Sun this week, and the headline is Michael Bangelo. Glasgow subway advert featuring Michelangelo's David banned for nudity. So this is Barolo, an Italian restaurant in the city's Mitchell Street, and they'd commissioned an advert featuring the famous statue with the caption, "It doesn't get more Italian." And there's a lovely picture there of Michelangelo's David eating a slice of pepperoni pizza. But the restaurant was told to cover up the sculpture's modesty over concerns it could be viewed as obscene, because, of course, Michelangelo's David is, of course, a naked statue. He does have his little cock and balls out. So, but they're not allowed to put it. Global, which runs the marketing in Scotland's only subway, had rejected the initial design where the iconic figure, which is housed in a gallery in Florence, was cropped at the knees. The company told the restaurant they would need to put stickers of the Italian flag over the statue's genitals. Then, when the company did this, they claimed the stickers were too small. The advert was eventually redesigned with the image of David cropped at the waist, which was approved and can now be seen on the walls of the subway. But the move prompted a backlash, with some noting the statue's fame in the art world. Mario Gizzi, director of DRG Group, which runs Barolo, told The Times, "This is a globally recognised piece of art. It is taught in schools. People from all over the world travel to see it. It's not the 1500s anymore. It's 2023. Are we really saying that the people of Glasgow can't handle seeing a naked statue?" Mr. Gizzi said that his restaurant is all about Italy's classic cooking, and Michelangelo's David is one of the country's most famous artworks. As the ad states, it doesn't get more Italian than that. Richard DeMarco, sounds a bit Italian as well, he's a Scottish artist and a patron of the Edinburgh Festival. He told The Times that he feared that the market was forcing a certain prudery around such pieces of classic art. He said, "I think it's a fantastic idea to have an image of that masterpiece on the Glasgow Underground, and its citizenry is very fortunate to be educated by it." A spokesperson for the Advertising Standards Authority said it's in the gift of media owners to refuse advertising space if they think it's obscene. It was a commercial decision, it's not something we will regulate. So, unfortunately, they've had to crop the advert so you don't get to see Michelangelo's cock and balls, and it's cut off at the waist. My argument would be, surely this is just going to encourage vandalism of Neds who are going to draw a cock and balls where the cock and balls should be.
I mean, you and I have discussed before, there is very little more amusing than a cartoon cock and balls with a few a few little sort of perils of I was going to say jizz, like Mr. Jizzy, who owns the restaurant, like flying off the end. I mean, I think so. It's just just an opportunity for some hilarious hijinks.
Yeah.
I would say. And the thing is, right, even if the poster had been printed showing David's, like, tiny genitalia, by the way. I've seen that statue. I mean, his cock and balls are it's got babies. It's going to get vandalised anyway.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So what's the difference?
Of course. I mean, the fact the way the statue is standing and he's got a slice of pizza in his hand as if he's eating it, there's just going to be another cock drawn on there so that it looks like he's enjoying a big sausage rather than a slice of pizza, a big bit of salami. So I wonder, it's just encouraging graffiti. And then there's going to be complaints that the posters have been vandalised, but they're just really kind of asking for it, if you ask me. Not that I'm encouraging it or condoning it, but it's going to happen.
I think I'm kind of encouraging it a wee bit, because that sort of thing does always... It does always give me a chuckle. I mean, I'm surprised that we're just letting Mario Jizzy pass without making childish jokes about, like, his restaurant's oyster sauce and stuff like that.
I wasn't going to say anything about Mario Jizzy. It could be Geezy. Maybe it's a pronunciation. Geezy. Maybe it could be Geezy. But I've just choose to pronounce it Jizzy.
Well, it's just as well that we are mature professional podcasters who are above making childish jokes about an Italian gentleman's spunky name.
I'm sure he probably just goes by Mario G to his friends. To avoid getting bullied or anything. So that is apparently Glasgow hates Italian art, Greg. That's what I would I've taken away from that.
Yeah. Sad it's one of the list of the many things that Glasgow doesn't like. Unification, for example. Wow. Yeah, well, look, I'm sort of... it does seem... I mean, I'm sure... Did they not have... I feel like the statue of David was on a tour in the last few... Maybe before the pandemic, it was getting toured around and shown at sort of different museums and art galleries around the country. And I feel like... not around the country, but around the world, maybe around Europe. I mean, I'd have to Google, but I feel like it might have been in Glasgow, maybe at the Kelvin Grove for a while before it moved on to its next place. I mean, if you want people to come and see it, you're going to have to put like a little picture of it on a poster, right? Or on your Instagram account or something like that. I don't know. Like to Mario G's point, or rather Richard DeMarco's point, I don't know why people are getting so upset about it.
I don't know. It's just a bit of art, but it's not anything hugely offensive, I don't think. But never mind.
It's tiny. It's like changing a baby's nappy. You know what I mean? It's fucking. It's like nothing to brag about.
I'm sure there'd be outrage about that if that was to happen in the subway as well, Greg.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
Never mind. All right, well, what else have you seen this week, Greg?
Well, two very quick ones. So, 1983 was a massive year for films. A lot of films are celebrating the 40th anniversary. Films like Scarface, War Games, National Lampoon's Vacation, Risky Business with Trading Places, Flashdance. But the one that means the most to us, I think, is Local Hero. 40 years young this year. The Press and Journal ran a little story on the 17th of May to say that Local Hero actors will be returning to the Aberdeenshire coast later in May for a sort of 40th anniversary reunion, and celebration of the film. Sandra Vo, who was one of the crew, she's travelling back to Pennon in the northeast of Scotland, where a lot of the movie is filmed. She also played the shopkeeper, Mrs. Fraser. If you go back to what episode did we do? Episode 50?
50.
Hero, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Go back to episode 50, you can hear us talking about Local Hero. Bizarrely, interestingly, a bit of a Press and Journal fact. Sandra Vo is the mother of Candida Doyle, who plays keyboards for Pulp. Oh, so there you go. A little pub quiz question. So she's going to reunite with Jonathan Watson, Tam Dean Byrne, who features later on in our movie this week, to celebrate the film. They're hoping that Bill Forsyth will be available to come as well, and obviously Burt Lancaster can't go because he's been dead for years. But maybe
I don't know why I'm laughing at that.
Yeah. I know, fucking silly old bastard, dead for years. So that'll be nice for the people of Pennon. I'm sure they'll be looking forward to that.
Yeah.
And then the other little story, showbiz story that I've got. So there's, I know that you, as I am, are a big fan of the not Scottish band, very much English band Blur. They've got a new album coming out on the 21st of July called The Ballads of Darren. And they have chosen the Gourock outdoor swimming pool, like a picture of the Gourock outdoor swimming pool for the cover of the album. Well, I say it's outdoor swimming pool. The correct term is Lido. So the picture, and maybe I'll put it on the Instagram a bit closer to the release date. Give Blood a bit of free publicity, but it's a man swimming in the blue waters of the Gourock Lido. In the background, you can see the sea and the rolling hills and the biggest fucking rain clouds you've ever seen in your life. So yeah, I've been looking forward to that. Nice to see, always good when these sort of perhaps more, particularly Scotland, maybe not as well known areas get a bit of publicity. Twitter user Murray McMillan wrote, "Seeing as that's in Gourock in Scotland and I can see the pool from my house, I think we deserve a Scottish date if they come to tour the album." And somebody's gone as far to say, well, how about a show in Inverclyde since Gourock is going to be there. The picture was taken by British photographer Martin Parr in 2004. The swimmer's name is Ian Galt. About to get pissed on by the looks of things. So yeah, I think I might like to go and see Blur if they tour. I know that they did a bit of a concert a few days ago, but I think it was mainly for like celebrity friends. Film director Edgar Wright shared a few videos of some of the performances on his Instagram account. But yeah, it's always good news when Blur get back together.
They're coming to
new music.
Amsterdam in a couple of months' time. I'm kind of debating whether to go and see them because it's like a Tuesday night and it's a bit awkward. But I would quite like to go and see them. I mean, what is their? Did you have a bit
seen Blur before?
Yes, I have. Yeah, back in I think 98, 98 or 99. I saw them. Yeah, at V Festival. Yeah, they were brilliant. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Do they have a bit of an obsession with swimming pools or swimming in general, or water? Because Leisure has a photo of a swimming pool woman with a swimming cap on. Then you have The Great Escape, someone diving in, and then Think Tank has a couple with divers helmets on as well. Yeah. So out of their 9 albums, 4 of them have got covers of sort of a watery kind of swimming nature. Yeah.
I don't know. I'll be sure to ask them if I ever meet any of them. But yeah, anyway, I'm looking forward to hearing The Ballads of Darren in July when it's released. If it's good, that'll be my summer soundtrack. If it's good. If not, I'll listen to it once and then come back to it in a few years.
Very good, very good.
So what's your next story this week?
Okay, so my next story this week, Greg, is also from the Scottish Sun, and it involves Scottish football and SPFL side Raith Rovers in particular. So this story involves the TV presenter Rylan Clark, who couldn't help getting involved when Championship side Raith Rovers announced a key man's contract extension with a slightly rude post. Actually, I've just realised that both of my stories this week revolve around a similar item. So, former Falkirk star Liam Dick has emerged as a key man for the Kirkcaldy side, and Ian Murray's men were very happy to keep him involved as he penned a new 1-year contract. Whether or not the club banked on their tweet being viewed no fewer than 5 million times is another matter. That's because of the interesting way they phrased the post. So the top headline, in terms of the way they've posted it, read, "Dick Extension. We are delighted to announce that Liam Dick has renewed his contract for another year, keeping him at the club till 2024. Let's just say it was the post that raised a few eyebrows. Rylan Clark, who is the face of Cinch's SPFL sponsorship, he quickly responded, "I'm fine with this." And football fans from all over the UK rushed into the comments to make their own jokes as the post gained huge traction for a fairly routine contract extension. One wrote, "This is huge if true." Another wrote, "The best player announcement yet." A third person wrote, "Player sponsored by Viagra." Someone else commented, "That's massive." And a fifth person said, "It's great to have a hard man at the back." Raith Rovers took to social media again this morning to say they were delighted with the engagement they've got over the post, and the player and his sponsors were also delighted. They wrote, "Well, that escalated quickly. Over 5 million people now know that Liam Dick extended his contract for another season." So I like that when football clubs, I mean, come on, they've done that on purpose, a bit of tongue-in-cheek, Dick extension. Obviously,
100%.
They've got his approval, I would imagine, before they've done that. But it's gathered them a lot of interest and a lot of exposure. And I like it when companies or a football club does something like that, a bit tongue-in-cheek, not like fucking banning a Subway advert because it had a penis on it.
A tiny, tiny baby's penis.
You're really obsessed with this, the size of it. That's what's offending you the most, isn't it?
I don't know. I just sort of think if you're going to go to the trouble of sculpting something that's going to become your life's work and you want it to be like a muscular young man eating an apple, you want to give him something to brag. I mean, he's got cracking abs already, but, you know, if he's trying to attract a young lady, I don't think the abs alone are going to cut it, especially when they see him with his loincloth off, you know.
Okay, fair enough. Well, that covers Liam Dick, so I hope he has another successful season at Raith Rovers. And good on Ryland for commenting on that as well. So, have you seen anything else this week, Greg, in the news?
Well, no, but I thought because it's been a tough week for news, I thought I might do a bit of a game with you. And
okay.
It's not really a game. So there's a podcast that I've been enjoying called The Moon Underwater by John Robbins, and he gets famous people on every week to discuss what their dream pub would be like. So I thought it might be good fun to ask you some of the questions that they ask their celebrity guests, because you know, you and I, it's probably fair to say that like a large part of our friendship and our relationship over the last 20 plus years is based on the fact that we both really like a boozer. You know, so the first question then for you, Nicky, in your dream pub, what you can have 2 draft drinks on there. Could be beer, cider, Guinness, lager, whatever. What's your first draft beer that you would have in your dream pub? Have anything you want.
It's Tennent's, of course.
It's got to be Tennent's.
Of course it's Tennent's, yeah, of course.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. What would your second one be?
Guinness.
Tennent's and Guinness.
Yeah.
I was thinking myself, it could be hard.
Because, I do like a pint of Guinness, but I like a pint of Tennent's as well. So
yeah,
I think I would go for that. I mean, what, am I supposed to, something fancy or
no,
exquisite?
I don't think so.
Or, I mean, I'm only allowed 2, so it's not like I can have 80 shilling as well, but
yeah,
I'd go for, Tennent's and Guinness. Why? What about yourself? What would you go for?
I would have Tennent's. I don't know, I like Guinness. I don't know if I'd have it there though. I'd maybe go for like a 70 or 80 shilling, something like that.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Okay.
I could live for that.
What would you could have 2 spirits, shorts. What would your first spirit be?
What does it have to be? Just spirit or brand, or do you know what
anything
I mean in terms of?
Well, I mean, if you've got a favourite spirit, you've probably got a favourite brand of that spirit, right?
Well, I'd go with Mount Gay rum, just purely because I drank a lot of it when I was on holiday in Barbados. So I thoroughly enjoyed that. And then a nice Oban whiskey.
Nice. What do you have in your rum? Do you just have it on its own, or do you put a wee mixer in there?
I have it on its own. I could put a wee mixer in, I suppose, as well. I don't mind a little rum and coke, or I got into just straight rum in Barbados. It was very nice, or rum punches as well. But I could just have a straight rum. That was good.
If you like a straight rum, I can recommend, because I also have discovered recently that I quite like a straight rum as well. Appleton's rum from Jamaica, very nice. Quite smooth. Especially the reserve is even smoother if you want to have it neat. So last one then, second to last one. I think this one might be harder. And in the jukebox, you can have one album.
Now, is this, what am I, like, is this pub just for me? Or have I got
it's your dream pub. It's your dream pub.
Entertaining the patrons as well, because, I don't want to obviously pick something depressing or...
No, it's something, it's all for you. This pub exists to satisfy Nicky, right? Doesn't matter about anybody else. I mean, we've already established that there's probably only going to be a gents' toilet in there, given your choice of drinks. But yeah, this pub exists only to please you, no one else.
Oh Christ, that's a good one, because you need something that I'm going to enjoy. I mean, I'll never get sick of Everything Must Go by the Manic Street Preachers, and it's good. There's some good songs you can sit and have a little sort of melancholy moment when listening to Enola alone. But then after you've had a few pints of Tennent's and Guinness, you can get fucking rowdy to A Design for Life and get on the bar and start, we don't talk about love. Yeah, probably that. Yeah, I think I'd go Everything Must Go by the Manic Street Preachers.
Cool. Yeah, and that was released this week in 1996. I noticed a little post the other day, so it's a time to mention. Like, last question then, what behaviour would you not tolerate in Nicky's bar? So they just doesn't. I mean, obviously there are the obvious ones like fighting and or just generally being a nuisance. But what is the one thing that you don't want to see in a pub that might annoy you if you went to like the pub and you saw other people doing?
No kids.
No kids. There you go. Well, there we go. I mean, it might not even have a gents' toilet, this pub. It might just have like a trough in front of the bar that guy's just pissing. I mean, I think if I would want to make sure that the bar was long enough that everybody could sit at the bar if they wanted, because excellent.
I think that's important. Yeah.
Oh,
very good. Oh well, thanks for that. Thoroughly enjoyed that. That's my dream pub. I'll just go and sit and drink my Tennent's, listen to the Manic Street Preachers with a little rum, and enjoy No Kids.
You're in good company with Tennent's, because I listened to Ian Rankin. He was a guest on The Moon Underwater last year, and Tennent's was one of his choices for his dream pub.
I do wonder if it gets a bad rap, because I see a lot of, there's on the Aberdeen forum that I occasionally go on, there is a thread called "What are you drinking today?" and people will post what beers they're drinking or photos of pints or something, and a lot of people are like, I fucking wouldn't drink Tennent's, and a lot of people are into their IPAs and fancy beers, but I guess it's the same for you and me, because we don't live in Scotland. I mean, I'll only drink Tennent's when I'm back in Scotland now, because kind of like, well, I don't know when I'll get my next pint, and I think Tennent's a lovely lager. I have to admit, when I was younger, as you know, it was Stella that I used to drink. But it's full of chemicals. And then I realised that for some reason I could go on a night out and I would drink 6 pints of Stella and I'd be fucking buckled. But I could drink 6 pints of Tennent's and feel fine. So that's basically why I switched to Tennent's. And I think Tennent's is lovely. I miss it. Yeah,
me too. I mean, it is definitely a session beer. If you're going to the football and you've got, especially if it's an away game, or even if it's not an away game, like you know that it's going to be a long day, and you can't have a long day on like some Belgian rocket fuel. And as much as I enjoy an IPA, you can't really have a long day in them either, because they're sweet as hell. So even if you're not like beluttered by like 3 o'clock, you're still going to probably, you might be feeling a wee bit kind of queasy with all the sweetness and the sugar and stuff like that. Whereas Tennent's just, you have a pint of Tennent's like first thing in the morning on your way to work.
Yeah, you can
still give your absolute best. You can even take a can into the bog like mid-morning. And you'd be fine, and you'd be absolutely fine.
Oh, wow. Well, I look forward to having a pint in my pub. You can come in, Greg. You're more than welcome to.
Awesome.
Talking of people that have been out and about in Scotland in pubs, do you want a quick round of Guess the Celebra Super Tea?
Yeah, otherwise known as the Purple Tin Game.
The Purple Tin Game. Okay, very quickly for any listeners that haven't heard the first round of Guess the Celebra Super Tea, or the Purple Tin Game. Effectively, this is born from, there's always an article in the Scottish papers about some celebrity that's been photographed at a Scottish pub or restaurant, and it's just a pointless news story, and I thought we'd play a little Guess Who game. Greg has 9 questions questions to guess the super celebrity. And it's called that. It's got 9 questions because a tin of Tennant's special brew is 9% proof. So yeah, guess the celebrity super tea, Greg. This celebrity was spotted in a popular Glasgow Italian restaurant, not the one with Michelangelo's David. They were spotted in Fratelli Sarti on Bath Street, where they are considered to be a regular anytime they're in town.
Oh. I was going to ask if it was Beyonce having a pint of like Belhaven in the Scotia bar or something, but
no,
clearly not. So, okay, so the fact that it's whenever they're in town suggests that it's not a Scottish celebrity?
It's not a Scottish celebrity.
Right, okay. Fucking hell, that opens it up significantly.
Yeah, it does.
Is this celebrity an actor?
No, they're not an actor.
Is this celebrity a musician?
I will tell you, yes, they are a musician. However, as this headline reads, popular something and musician. So they are also known for something else. But I would say, if I said to you this person's name, you would say they were a musician. But they are also famous for something else as well.
So if it's, okay, so not an actor, so what else can... Is the person also a DJ, like on the radio?
That's a good point. No, not on the radio.
Okay.
No.
Is he... Oh, well, 3 questions. Is a television presenter?
Yes, television presenter and musician, which should fucking give it away quite easily.
Yeah. Is it the founding member of the Squeeze, Joe Holland?
It certainly is. Yes, Jules Holland was. He was photographed at the Italian restaurant. He was performing in Glasgow, and apparently he goes to that restaurant every time he's in this city. So, and it's a lovely photo on Fratelli Sarti's Instagram page with Jules and the two owners enjoying himself. So there you go. Oh, that was good. Yeah, you got that pretty quickly.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, surprisingly.
Well, I guess that wraps up the news for this week then, Greg. And a couple of lovely games as well. Absolutely wonderful. Okay. Right, so as mentioned on the last episode of the podcast, Greg, we have a new sponsor. Yes, that's right. This episode is brought to you by Doric Skateboards. And I had a chance to meet up with the man behind Doric Skateboards, Gary Kemp, last week to have a little chat about the company and all things Scottish. So I am joined here today by our new sponsor, Gary Kemp from Doric Skateboards. How are you today, Gary? Welcome to the Culture Swally.
Yeah, good. Glad, nice to be here, and thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you, and thank you very much for sponsoring the Culture Swally. We are absolutely delighted to have you on board, because I know I've been a customer for years from years. Like, I'm a big fan of the brand, so I know exactly what it's all about. So, but in terms of for our listeners, why don't you tell us like a little bit about yourself and your background?
Well, my background is slightly grumpy Aberdonian, unfulfilled professional life. Decided to get back on a skateboard about 10 years ago, and then kind of like a few years after that, faced with potential redundancy, figured I needed something for myself, something I could control, creative, interesting. So I thought, start a skateboard brand. I mean, I say brand, I didn't really know the word brand at the time. So I think a skateboard company. And yeah, it's grown from there. And Doric Skateboards, so that's 6 years ago. We launched. Wow. It took me like 9 months to get going. But and the whole idea is it's all inspired by sort of life in the northeast of Scotland, people, culture, places, seagulls, butt race, things like that. all the culture, basically. Yeah.
That kind of answers my next question, really, which was, what is the inspiration for setting up the brand? But it was because your love of skateboarding and just wanting to do something creative, I guess.
Yeah, something creative definitely was like a huge thing, because I didn't go to uni till I was like 30 and entered the professional world at like 34 or whatever. And I was probably disappointed, to be honest, because it was just like, what's a spreadsheet? What the hell? What am I doing? I didn't really understand. I'm still baffled as to what we're all doing, to be honest. Sending emails to each other, that's about it. And so I kind of needed someone else, someone that I could kind of get my teeth into.
So where does the inspiration and idea for the designs come from? You've already mentioned it comes from kind of around about Aberdeen, seagulls and puppies and stuff. But what is it that inspires you that you see and you're like, hey, that'll be a great idea for a design?
I think movies are a big inspiration. Movies and film and stuff are huge. Almost without knowing it, that they've sort of influenced a lot of it. But also other, designs that already exist, and nostalgia is a lot of it as well, kind of things growing up that sort of stuck with me. And I've, you might say inspired, I would probably say pilfered for exploited. I've not had a cease and desist yet. I've had a
that's good.
Emails, but nothing too substantial.
So over the 6 years, you've had a fair few designs that you've done. What's been your favourite that you're really proud of? That is your.
I think. I wouldn't want it. So we've worked with a lot of local artists and designers who, either they execute an idea I've got, or they come to me with ideas and stuff. But I think probably the one that stuck around is the bottle design, the Plenty of Pop, which was my own one, which was just a homage to those juice trucks of the 80s or 70s and 80s that used to go around the housing estates selling Coca-Cola and limeade and other kind of gut-rotting juice that is responsible for me lacking several teeth nowadays, probably. But that so I can't even I decided that was just going to be that design, and we sort of tweaked it to match our logo, and it's still around now. And there's actually one of the boards is going up, and there's an exhibition at the art gallery this month, and so they've asked if I'll loan them a board for it.
Oh, amazing!
So it'll be one of them.
Yeah, I love the Plenty of Pop design. I fondly remember the Bonaccord lorries going round and delivering juice. And as you say, I think I actually chipped my front tooth because I was scoofing out of a bottle and put it down. My mum going mental that I chipped my tooth.
God.
But yeah, I know what you mean. So it wasn't just the sugar that wrecked your teeth, it was the bottles as well.
The bottle was a danger as well, I suppose.
So you mentioned in terms of working with local designers, is it important that you keep it local in terms of, the brand is Doric Skateboards, of course, but you want to really work with designers from the local area?
Yeah, in full transparency, I had never used the word collaboration in my life before, right? And it wasn't really until quite early on people had approached and asked about doing designs with me and stuff. So it wasn't really a thought straight away, but it very quickly became a big part of it, to be honest. And I'd be happy enough punting along doing my own my own designs. Probably wouldn't be nearly as popular, but I'd still be having fun with it. But it's good to work with. I'm sort of blown away by the talent and professionalism even among a lot of them, of all ages and all experience, students that go to Grays, like amazing, really easy to work with, kind of know what they're doing, and it's been great.
Yeah, there's a lot of talent in Aberdeen, and it's great that they can showcase it as well through your work.
They need
a
canvas to, no shade at the industries here, but they're not all going to be able to work on brochures for oil companies and that sort of exciting shit. They probably want to do some different stuff, and it's probably up to everyone in the city that's doing something to engage with them and give them a chance. It doesn't matter what business you run, but it's a cafe or skateboard brand. You could get them on board and give them a platform if you can.
They say that people buy from people, and you've been so honest, like in terms of social media, about setting up the business and any struggles of setting up a small business. Do you think the local communities help that in terms of, because your brand's so Doric focused, do you feel the community has embraced it?
Yeah, aye. And it's kind of like goes across all, like I will say, our brand is not for the cool skater, right? The sort of like awkward teenager into the early 20s. We're probably not for that person, I don't know if you remember the cartoon, The Raggy Dolls, when we were kids.
Yeah, of course.
Right, reject sort of dolls from a factory. That's kind of how I think of Doric Skateboards. I think it's for that. We are for the rejects, and it's amazing to see all sorts of different people support it. Not, in majority of them, not skaters, but they appreciate it. They appreciate the designs, or they used to skate, or they like skateboarding, and some of them do skate. So it's kind of, it would be nothing without that support. And it's it is humbling to when people say nice things. That's really cool.
Oh, well, yeah, you deserve it. And you're right, actually, because I am kind of exactly the same in terms of I've got a fair few of your items, and I like the skating culture, but it's been a long time since I've been on a skateboard. I did buy one at the start of lockdown, actually, and I've been on it about 3 times. I've just been terrified in terms of, like, I know I'm going to break my wrist,
Painful.
and it takes a long time to heal when you're 42.
You don't want to make that phone call, do you?
So you mentioned in terms of like movies and TV shows, and like any Scottish, I mean, obviously you have had a few already, but any of those that you think would be an influence for any future designs that you might have?
No, I mean, so my movie taste from a young age really was not so much now, but really was shaped by sort of like kind of like Ken Loach, sort of quite sort of like, the kitchen sink drama sort of stuff, quite grim. And so they probably will. Whereas I think most of the Doric stuff is sort of goes for a bit of humour. Although in saying that, a lot of like the kitchen sink dramas are full of kind of wit and funny stuff, So I did sometimes think of like Local Hero and stuff like that, but to be honest, I think that's. I mean, okay, I pick low hanging fruit as it is, right? Seagulls, butteries. That's Local Hero is also low hanging fruit, and I think it's I'm not going to completely write it off. You never know. I'm not going to say that.
But, maybe coming soon, eh? Oh, that'd be good.
We'll see.
See that. Speaking of butteries, it's funny enough because we seem to spend a lot of time on the podcast speaking about our love for the late night bakeries that you used to get in Aberdeen. Well, you still get in Aberdeen, and it's definitely an Aberdonian thing.
Mm-hmm.
Without a doubt, after a night out, you'd head to the bakery. What would be your item of choice when you went to the bakery?
Okay, so specific bakery, it's got to be Thanes on George Street, right?
Oh yeah, we know the one very well.
Can be a bit tasty, not in flavour wise. There, you've got to be dedicated to go there at 2 a.m. So either a steak pie and a macaroni pie.
Oh, cheeky!
Love a macaroni pie. A couple of butteries. Yeah, I like a buttery just dry, nothing on it.
Okay.
So recently I was out one night and I got to a point at where the Lion is across the Triple Kirks.
Yes.
Straight ahead to go home or hang a right and go to George Street and get a pie. I was just like, I'm going for a pie. Took me a long way home. So yeah, pies all, macaroni, steak, couple of butteries.
That's what we reminisce about. There's nothing better than a pie after a night out. Chapel Street used to be our favourite haunt, and was always used to remember the "Say Aye to a Pie" poster, and I remember the guy had an award up that he was a master baker, and he must get so pissed off if people asking him at 3 o'clock in the morning if he is a master baker, and it's just
God bless him for doing that.
I know, but he took it in good stead. So in terms of Aberdeen and memories and things that could come up with ideas, Greg and I put our heads together and we thought about some Aberdeen icons that probably are out with copyright nowadays that you could get away with. So first thought was the Tasty Tatty that used to be on there. Remember that? Yeah.
Aye, Christ, that was a classic. That's now the Pig's Wings. It's another eatery, a local eatery. But Tasty Tatty, that cool little kind of like potato character, was it?
Yeah, it was a little potato logo that, he was holding a fork, which a bit bizarre. It's like cannibalism. I don't know what he was doing there.
He's eating himself. It's a strange one. Like it.
We also thought of Amadeus, that institution, Amadeus. Britain's biggest nightclub at one point.
Yes. I'd like to say fond memories, but not really. Just kind of misery, really. I'm going home again myself. Straight to the baker. Get that free bus.
The Amadeus bus was your last hope, wasn't it? If you couldn't get if you couldn't meet a lady on the bus, then you were definitely just heading to the baker's.
Going home with a macaroni pie instead. Which, to be honest, at my age I am now, thinking I'm like, hey, love a pie. That's it, Yes, okay, Amadeus though. That's a That's a classic. We'll say in inverted commas.
But if you were lucky enough to leave Amadeus, not that lucky, but lucky enough to go back to a party,
Aye.
and then the party was still in full swing at 6 a.m, you could maybe nip down to the schooner for a pint.
Oh, the schooner
with the sailors.
Yep, aye, a pint and a fight or something like that. Yeah. You still 2 bars on Castlegate open at 8 till 8.
Oh, really? Wow, that's impressive. Wow.
Portals, I think it is one of them. Yeah. Aye.
Oh, yeah, aye.
You walk very quickly past there if you're there at that time in the morning. Yeah.
So, kind of doubling back on a question, really, we're from the same era in terms of like the 80s, 90s and things. So, what's your memory of Scottish films and TV shows from that time? Obviously, you've mentioned Local Hero, but is there anything else you really remember that you loved from around about that time?
It's weird. I think for generations now, they're spoiled for like Scottish movie stars, really. The list is kind of endless, and they're top tier, for your like Gerard Butlers and guys like that. Even writers and directors, and you've got John Baird, from Peterhead, making big Hollywood movies, which should be inspiring, I hope.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was a kid, we were talking about the VHS generation, and we used to go to a place called The Cabin, which was a wee store at Byron Square in Northfield. And so my memory of there is just video covers, like completely inappropriate video covers. And one in particular was a Scottish film, Restless Natives, which had a sort of like, I think it was 2 guys on a bike, motorbike cover, one a clown mask, and there were robbers. And to this day, I don't think I've ever seen it. It's one of those films that's just like stayed off my radar, but the image is like completely in my mind from video days. It's weird.
It's funny, we covered that on the Swally last year, I think, and Greg and I had never seen it either. It's so bizarre. It's one of those films that just seemed to escape us.
Yeah.
Exactly as you've said. And we watched it. We loved it. But we both said, I wish I'd seen this when I was like 12, 13. Then it would have been like a real staple that I would have loved forever, but you kind of felt you were missing out a bit. But I'd recommend watching it. It's a great film.
It's on the enormous list of stuff that I still need to plough through. But yeah, that film just stuck in my head from being really young. It wasn't really until the 90s that we started to see Scotland represented on film more, and in different ways, away from the sort of shortbread tin version of Scotland,
Well, thank you so much for joining us on the Swally, Gary, and it's been an absolute pleasure, and we'll speak to you very soon.
Cheers. Thanks.
So there we go, Greg. A wonderful chat there with Gary from Doric Skateboards. And I actually left out the last question I asked him, in which I asked him to pick a piece of Scottish media for us to review. And we'll be looking at that in the coming episodes. So you'll have to tune in to find out what Gary selected. But in the meantime, head over to doricskateboards.com or visit Doric Skateboards on Instagram to check out the decks, tees, hoodies, beanies, badges and stickers they have to offer. And as a listener to this podcast, if you use the code SWALLY at checkout, that's SWALLY, all uppercase and the same as the name of this podcast, you'll receive 15% off your order. So doricskateboards.com and the code SWALLY, and you'll find all the details in the description of this episode.
So it was your turn to choose our film/television series for this episode of the Swally. So why don't you introduce what we're going to be talking about today?
Thank you very much, Greg. Well, we've covered a few Irvine Welsh adaptations on the Swally before, such as Trainspotting, T2, Filth, Crime, and of course Creation Stories as well, which is not an adaptation of a book, but he wrote. Check them out wherever you get the podcasts, as Greg has said before. They're all good. But today, I want to speak about the film adaptation of his 1994 book, The Acid House. So, The Acid House was a collection of 22 short stories, and the film adaptation covers just 3 of those stories, running at around about 35 minutes each. The stories picked are The Granton Star Cause, A Soft Touch, and the story which the book takes its name from, The Acid House. And I'll go into a description of each of these stories because I think we're probably going to talk about them individually, Greg, and then talk about the film as a whole. So this film starred Ewen Bremner, Kevin McKidd, Michelle Gomez, Stephen McCole, of course, Maurice Roeves, and a whole host of other Scottish Swally Stalwarts. The film was directed by Paul McGuigan and was released in 1998 to somewhat lacklustre reviews at the time. But Greg, what's your first memories of The Acid House?
Well, I remember reading the book, like I mentioned, on the episode where we covered train spotting. I had read the book a couple of months before. A friend at school called Martin Scott gave me a loan of it, and I read it pretty much in a day. Train spotting, that is. And so when I gave him it back, he said, "Oh, if you like The Acid House, if you like Train Spotting rather, I've got another book by Irvine Welsh." He said it's not as good, but it's all short stories. And so, like, obviously, like, I eagerly consumed that one, not as quickly as I read Train Spotting, because not all the stories sort of resonate in the same way. So when I saw that there was a movie coming out, I was quite interested to see it, and I did. And I hadn't seen it since it came out, before I watched it again for this episode of the Culture Swally. And while there's some enjoyable moments, it's a bit of an uncomfortable watch, I think. The Acid House, to be brutally honest, is very, very, very much of its time. There's like it's a good day for 90s fashions, and it's like Paul McGuigan, the director. He really copies a lot of sort of Danny Boyle's little nuances that he does in Train Spotting and T2, you know. What about you? Did you enjoy going back to it? What's your first memories of it?
I, similar to you, I'd read the book before I saw the film. I think we've discussed this when we discussed Train Spotting and probably anything Irvine Welsh that we've done, in that seeing the film Train Spotting was kind of my first exposure, and then I went back and I read Train Spotting, then I went and read The Acid House, Marabou Stork Nightmares, Ecstasy, devouring anything Irvine Welsh. And then I think, as I've said, Filth came out, and I remember buying Filth like the week it came out, and since then every Irvine Welsh book I've bought or downloaded the week it's come out. But I had read The Acid House. I didn't go to the cinema to see this, but I did rent it on VHS, like just after it had come out on video. I remember quite enjoying it at the time, but I think, as you said, it's maybe of its time. And, I would have been probably 17, 18 when it came out, and probably thought it was a bit edgy and, quite different. And you're right, watching it now, it can be quite uncomfortable for a whole host of reasons. I think it's of its time in that there's a lot of gratuitous nudity. There's a lot of stuff in it that does kind of turn your stomach. And there's a lot of stuff in it that is genuinely very unsettling as well. I think particularly from a soft touch, it's a tough watch. And I think I think this film wasn't quite well received when it came out, and I do wonder, and I read a lot of reviews online going back from 98, 99, and of course a lot of these reviews are calling this Train Spotting 2 at the time, effectively because it's probably at the back of Irvine Welsh, and it came off the back of Train Spotting. And you're right, I think it's maybe a bit of a shame to compare it to Train Spotting, because Train Spotting is just a completely unique beast in that it's just a masterpiece, really. And for this, which isn't. And I think it's difficult because when you've got a collection of short stories, just picking three. And I did go back and read a little bit of The Acid House this week, just a couple of stories to try and refresh my memory. And there are other ones that could have worked, but he probably did pick the three that maybe work the best in terms of filming it. I do wonder if this would have been better as a kind of a TV series in terms of picking some of the better ones. And I think that is originally because back in 1997, so like a year before the film came out, they actually showed the Granton Star Cause on Channel 4, just as a short film. Just as part of the 35-minute. They hadn't even filmed the other two sections yet, but they showed this on Channel 4 at 11 p.m. on a Sunday evening. And the way it was promoted was, this film contains 67 fucks, 94 cunts, and a dildo. And kind of maybe sums up Granton Star Cause. And there was a lot of outrage at the time about this being shown. Even Mary Whitehouse got involved at that time. She was still alive. And the Church of England got involved, saying that this was just, it was blasphemy and a gross offence, which I'd imagine probably encouraged quite a lot of people to actually watch it when it aired. So they probably did a good bit of promotion for it. I mean, we'll come on to talk about each one individually, but coming back to watch it, I enjoyed some places. I enjoyed performances. But I can't say I'm going to really go and watch this again anytime soon, because as much as I've enjoyed certain parts of it, there are certain parts that really turn to my stomach.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, what I would say is, similarly to you, as a devourer of Irvine Welsh's work over the years, I think this is probably, and I don't know if this is to the film's credit, but it's probably the most sort of faithful to Irvine Welsh's sort of style, the themes he explores, the sort of choices, the kind of narrative choices he makes and things. It can be, because as much as a sort of casual viewer or someone who knows a bit about Irvine Welsh, they'll be familiar with things like Trainspotting, for example, or maybe now that crime is getting a more general release, maybe that'll steer the focus a bit away. But it can be, a lot of his short stories and novellas can be very, very surreal. If I think about Bedroom Secrets of the Master Chefs, I mean, that's a novel, and the whole premise of one guy being able to abuse his body with booze and drugs as much as he wants, and this other poor guy having the hangover and having the effects of that sort of lifestyle, while the person that's enjoying the lifestyle is not suffering any ill effects. It's a pretty, as far as concepts go, it's out there. And The Acid House, the book, and even the stories that are picked, like the first story and the last story in the film, they're pretty wild concepts, and I wonder if, I'm not sure that something like this would get commissioned now. I think perhaps the success of Trainspotting has sort of got this film commissioned and released. And if you look at Paul McGuigan, the director's filmography, apart from the tons of TV stuff he's done, like his other films, he's very much got his own style of filming. And I wonder if he was under a bit of pressure from the producers to kind of make this like Trainspotting. So for example, when in the second story with the wedding, and you have a sort of still shot of the wedding party all there, you know what I mean? And it reminds me of Trainspotting in the sort of credit sequence when you see the guys playing football and they're there, and the sort of close-ups of the guys in the pub, like smoking fags and having a drink, just like the guy by themselves, just before Bob meets God in the boozer. And even the credits, like the font on the credits and everything is very, very, very similar. Naming the characters as well. That sort of freeze the frame and the character's name pops up. And I wonder if he was maybe under a bit of pressure to sort of essentially copy Danny Boyle. But then this was his first film. He was only 35 when he directed it. It was an opportunity for him, I suppose, to get a movie made. So,
I think so. You're right. There's a lot in this, and I think we'll discuss as we're talking about each one. But yeah, there's a lot of points that I'm watching it and thinking, that's just directly out of Trainspotting. And it's difficult because it's obviously it's from Irvine Welsh's book, but you could kind of make it a little bit different and not make it quite so obvious you're copying. The one thing I would say is, because often when you have a film like this with short stories, it can suffer because sometimes each one has like a different director or a different writer. I'm thinking about the old anthology films that we used to see, or you don't get a lot of stuff like this nowadays, really, in terms of a film of this nature. But what I would say is it does shine that there is a cohesion through this, and you can see they are all identifiable as the same writer, same director.
Yeah,
I would say to a certain extent in the way it's filmed, and I do think some of the choices he's made are very clever and very good. But I agree, it's trying to be Trainspotting too much and failing miserably. It's the difficult second album almost. And I mean, it's not Danny Boyle, of course, directing it, so it's a shame to say that. But in terms of Irvine Welsh adaptations, I think it suffered, and I think that maybe that's why I know Ecstasy got made into a film, but then maybe that's why nothing really else got touched until Filth did, quite a way down the line, really.
Yeah, and the film of Ecstasy has got very little to do with the book.
Yeah,
the stories they heard it, because Ecstasy again is like 3 novellas. Yeah, right. It's 3 stories, and the thing is, you know, you mentioned those anthology movies that you and I are fans of, like the old Hammer ones and the old Amicus anthology horror, like Asylum, for example. But the thing is, it's those stories, although it's like 3 or 4 or 5 different stories, they're sort of held together with like a common narrative. Like Asylum is Robert Powell going around the asylum interviewing the patients and then telling their stories, where apart from a sort of callback by Ewen Bremner in the last story, there's nothing really to connect these stories sort of narratively speaking. You know, they're connected in the sense that Irvine Welsh has written them all, and his star as a writer was on the rise because Trainspotting had been a massive success. But like narratively, nothing connects the stories together really. No. Which I don't know. It's just a really strange sort of choice for a film. I mean, I think probably a lot of movies got made in the UK in the kind of mid to late 90s that, when you look back, you're like, sort of really? And it all sort of comes off the back of the success of 4 Weddings and a Funeral. Because they essentially just like boosted a sort of ailing British film industry to suddenly having international releases again, whereas before, like for a long time in the sort of 80s, British films only really got shown in Britain or maybe like in Europe, you know, and they wouldn't get sort of much attention from Hollywood. Maybe the odd one would slip through, and then 4 Weddings came out 1994, and suddenly it was a going concern again. And you know, you got Film 4, you got the National Lottery funding, you got the Glasgow Film Fund and stuff in Scotland, and like all these films are getting made. And I just don't think that, I mean, it's sort of amazing in a good way that a film like The Acid House exists, I think. As much as I found it hard to watch, the fact that people got behind it and made it, it's got a great cast that we'll come to talk about, is brilliant. But I just think that these days, you wouldn't. Would Film 4 give somebody, some producers, a few £1 million to make a film where somebody gets turned into a fly after meeting God, or like a baby in a fucking BAM pot, like spot bodies? I just don't. I just don't think it would. I just don't think it would happen anymore. And maybe that's. Maybe like the film industry is all the poorer for it, you know. Like not every film can be brilliant, right? Yeah, but then technically you could say now a lot of it is, the shift is to TV, and you could see some of these stories working on like a Black Mirror or Inside Number 9 type thing. Not as extreme, of course, in terms of, Black Mirror is very much focused more on the kind of technology and things going wrong apparently, and so maybe not. Especially not the second one. But you could see this working, like I say, as a TV kind of series, and with a couple of extra stories from the Acid House thrown in, for example. You know, because I went back and read a couple of the other stories, and I'm kind of like, well, but how can you stretch them out really in terms of making them into? Because one of the ones I really liked was Disney Matter, which is when the guy goes to Disneyland with his wife and kid, smacks the guy dressed as the bear. And it's he's sort of recounting it, isn't he? Yeah, it's really funny. It's just a beautiful line, in terms of saved a lot of money, took out of Disneyland. I'll be fucking eating McCain oven chips for the next 6 months, but at least I got to take the bear into Disneyland. Let's delve into the first of the 3 chapters. I think it probably makes sense to speak about them individually, and then we can cross over and speak about the film as a whole as well. So the first story is the Granton Star Cause, and it stars Bob, played by Stephen McCole, who's having a shitty day. He's been kicked off a football team. His parents want him out the house. His girlfriend has dumped him because she's met a real man. He gets arrested for smashing up a phone box. What else does this have in store for Bob? Well, he finds out when he meets God in the pub and gets turned into a fly. So, Steve McCole, the star of the first part. And I thought interesting that it came up on because he was last in the credits when you were having the opening credits, and it said introducing
Stephen McCole.
Yeah.
And I wonder if this was because this was filmed probably a couple of years prior, because in 1998, when this came out, Stephen McCole actually had 4 films come out. Well, he was in The Crow Road in 96, and then Did I Dick, which is a short, but he was in 1, 2, 3, he had 5 films out in 1998. My Name is Joe, a film called Postmortem, The Acid House, Orphans, and Rushmore. And also in that year, The Young Person's Guide to Becoming a Rock Star. What a fucking year for Stephen McCole. That is insane. He gets to work with fucking Bill Murray, Peter Mullen twice, because on My Name is Joe and Orphans, and Maurice Roeves in The Acid House. Not a bad year.
And Wes Anderson as well.
Yeah, of course.
and Brian Cox is in Rushmore,
Oh,
right?
yeah, of course he is.
Fucking belter.
That counts as a Scottish film.
Well, maybe. I mean, that's his most successful year, perhaps, like in terms of high profile stuff, but arguably gave his fledgling career a massive kickstart. But I think when people made their film debuts, even if they'd been on TV, it would, back in those days, it would still say introducing because it was a film debut, maybe. I don't know.
So he plays Bob, the main character in the Granton Star Cause. And he's quite a put down upon guy. He's 23. He plays for the football team. He's not very good. He gets kicked off the team and goes home, and his parents are about to enter a dangerous phase in their lives. And his dad comes out with, great, they're trying to kick him out the house. He's saying, you're 23. People will think you're some sort of queer fella still living with your parents. And Alex Howden, of course, playing Bob Senior. We'll talk a bit more about him later, but fucking hell, what a role. But Bob's just really having a shite day, isn't he? Put down upon.
Yeah. And again, it comes back to what I said, like about Irvine Welsh, like when he's walking down the road, having sort of fallen out with his mates, and he's talking about moving in with Evelyn, his girlfriend, played by Jenny McCrindle, making her second Culture Swally appearance. His inner monologue is being spoken out loud. He's like, I'll get a place with Evelyn, wake up to a blowjob every day, strips washed every week. And it's like, people don't behave that way. They don't walk around mouthing what they're talking what they're thinking about, even if they are having a sort of shitty time. And then of course Irvine Welsh appears as the sort of changing rooms. He's credited as Parky. So I guess he's supposed to be the sort of park keeper, but he's running a mop around the changing rooms while the Granton Star Football Club are getting ready to play football by drinking cans of lager. And
I see. He usually does get a little cameo in most of his films. Does that make Irvine Welsh the Scottish Stan Lee in terms of... he doesn't pop up in everything. I don't think he was in Filth. I think I did read that he was meant to be and it got cut out.
Right.
But he does pop up in most of the other things that he's done. Yeah.
Maybe. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of like people we've had on the Swally before, like on the Granton team. You got famously Gary Sweeney, who plays Sloane in Small Faces. I thought in Small Faces he was absolutely brilliant. Yeah, I remember seeing it when the film was relatively new and thinking he's going to be fucking massive, and never really. It's never really sort of happened for him. He's been on Take the High Road. He's in this Valhalla Rising, this sort of Viking thing. That's the most recent thing he's done. I gotta be honest, in this, like in that first bit, in the Granton Star Cause, the Edinburgh accents. Because a lot of the people, like Stephen McCole's not from Edinburgh, Gary Sweeney's not from Edinburgh, Simon Weir plays Tambo, is not from Edinburgh. So it almost feels like they're taking the piss out of the Edinburgh accent. Do you know what I mean? Because it's so pronounced. Yeah. That kind of rising tone as they're, as they're saying sentences and stuff, and A and Ken and everything, and it's like it does feel like they're taking the piss.
Listen, mate, this isn't really easy to say. It's just that we all agree we can't guarantee our game any man. Hey, you see, it's all about depth of pool, Bob. We've got Tambo and Granty now. This team's gone places, man.
Gone places? Gone places. Churches League Division 3. It's a kickaboo, you pretentious cunt. A fucking kickaboo.
You're bound to be disappointed, mate.
Disappointed? Too fucking right I'm disappointed. Which cunt washes his strips nearly every week then, eh?
Didn't be like that, man. Have another pint, eh?
Stick your fucking pint up your arse. Some mates use, eh? Well, fuck you!
And I mean, they don't hold back. And I did read a couple of online reviews of people saying I could not understand a word of this film, and there was no subtitles. Or apparently, if you rent it on Amazon Prime, there are scenes where it literally just comes up as a subtitle inaudible because whoever was doing the subtitles couldn't even work out what they were saying. Now, I
Just gave up.
understood every word perfectly because obviously Scottish, and I understood it because I'm tuned into Irvine Welsh's. I've read enough of his books and stuff. I know what they're saying, but. Yeah, a lot of people were like, I can't remember what it was. One review was like, yeah, I lost it when he turned into a fly. I didn't understand a word of it after that, but I enjoyed it. And I guess you don't really, a lot of the time, you maybe don't need the words. You can kind of work out what's going on just through the visuals of the film, but you would miss out on some amazing lines. But yeah, they were kind of ramping it up a little bit, I think, in terms of the accents. Did you spot the wonderful bit, I think it's near the start, when it is just after, as you've said, when Bob is dropped off the football team and he's walking and he's speaking to himself, and he walks past this a bit of graffiti that just says, Cheryl's hole smells of fish. The camera kind of lingers on it for a second. I just burst out laughing. It's so literal. What I did like in what they do when he goes to see his parents and they're telling him that they're about to enter the dangerous phase and they've just bought a video camera, I thought that was quite well done in that they put the camera down and you can see Bob in the TV as Bob Senior is telling him that he's got a couple of weeks to get out.
Yeah, I mean, there's good moments. I mean, to be honest, I think of the three stories, the first one might be the strongest, maybe, and just but it's obviously based on, to some extent, on like Frank Kafka.
Yeah,
not the guy who owns the designer clothes shop in Aberdeen. But
it's the third episode in a row. If they're still going, they due us some fucking advertising revenue. I'll tell you that.
I think it's kind of based on his metamorphosis, and so Bob's, but as a result of his own sort of attitude to life, he's a bit lazy, he's got a shit job, he's not much of a boyfriend and everything else. God punishes him by turning him into a fly, and his only actions as a fly is to take brutal revenge on the people that have wronged him. Well, mainly his boss who fired him, and Evelyn and his girlfriend who's now shagging Tambo, one of his teammates.
But is that not because God effectively said to him, you had the power to do this, you just couldn't be bothered? And that's why, because as he's committing the kind of acts of revenge, he's playing God's words in his mind in terms of, so he is extracting his revenge on them. He's using the powers that God has given him as this fly to get retribution on them. I mean, right, let's just talk about Maurice Roeves as God. Jesus Christ, just brilliant. And some of the whole speeches that he gives as God is just fucking amazing. Did you know originally it was offered to Sean Connery?
I did read that. Do you think that's true? I think that's true.
I don't know. I mean, I hope it is. I would love to have seen that, but I think Maurice Roeves is just wonderful in the role, though.
I can't imagine Big Tam saying, "You're claimed cunt."
You're right, actually, yeah. You're very right. But yeah, just every second word out of his mouth is cunt or fuck. And it's, but hey, we now know God drinks 80 shilling. So it's, beautiful to see in terms of that. But yeah, just his first line, you fuck this one up, you daft cunt. And and the interaction between the two is just beautiful. That kind of banter they have back and forth. That's probably one of the best scenes in the entire film,
for sure. And it's sort of arch Irvine Welsh, like making this contention that God also sees himself as a bit of a malingerer, lazy bastard, and is kind of disgusted by his own sort of ineptitude and his own sort of laziness but when he sees that behaviour in Bob, he decides to punish him. And as he says himself, I can't punish myself, can I? So,
I mean, it's summed up beautifully by the line, that cunt Nietzsche said I was wide of the mark when he said I was deed. I'm no deed. I just didn't give a fuck.
I gied yous the place. I made you cunts in my own image. Yous get on with it. Yous fucking will sort it out. And that cunt Nietzsche was wide by the mark when he said that I was deed. I'm no deed. I just didn't give a fuck.
Yeah, exactly.
Beautiful.
But the thing, right? I know that, because I read it myself too, that a lot of that particular contention in the film upset a lot of religious groups. But it could, that very scene itself could start quite a sort of intellectual, philosophical debate, which arguably we're not famous for on the Swally, right? But the whole contention that that God has given the world to humans who have made an absolute fucking arse of it, and he's just like, well, you guys have fucked it. It's for me to do. I can't punish myself because I'm immortal. So you guys have to just get on with it. I'm sure that debate has been had by people who have never seen the Acid House.
What's more summed up with, I made yous cunts in my own image. Yous got on with it. Yous fucking well sort it out. I've done all I can. Fucking get on with it.
And Bob even says that, the thing that probably anybody would say if they were to meet God, if God exists, he says, what about murderers and rapists and dictators and everything? What about them? Why are you punishing me? Why are you not punishing them? He says, well, I might get rid of them eventually. I might not. It's sort of like, I guess it's probably for anybody who believes in God and perhaps thinks to themselves, well, I don't understand why God's not doing more about these terrible things that are happening in the world. It's probably the last answer that they'd want to have from their gods. Fucking hell, I might sort it out, I might not. You fucking sort it out.
I guess, as we've said, Bob takes his revenge on everyone. Now, there's two things that are left to talk about. Let's go with this one first. There's a lot of nudity and sex in this film.
Yeah.
And we get to see Evelyn and Tambo having sex. Now, for the most part, and I'll be careful how I say this, but I thought a lot of the sex scenes and some of the nudity was necessary to help the storyline progress, if that makes sense. So yeah. I genuinely think you needed to see Evelyn and Tambo shagging because Bob, as the Fly, needs to see that to take his revenge by putting dog shit in their curry, which they've just left on the bedstand. Yeah. Did we need, and I'm not saying I didn't enjoy it, but did we need the scene of Jenny McCrindle as Evelyn getting ready? And I enjoyed the scene, and now, not for the reason you're probably going to think, because it was very enjoyable, but I liked the outfit she wore, because it was just like, bang, I'm back in fucking 1997. In terms of that skirt and the trainers and the top, and I was like, holy shit, it's just like being transported back. Was that really necessary or was that a bit gratuitous in terms of, was it needed?
McGuigan could have shown her getting ready without showing her, her breasts and everything. You know what I mean? I get, he's trying to present her as a kind of young woman who's got a lust for life and wants to get out and about and whatever else. I don't think he had to show her. I don't think he had to shoot her naked or with her top off or whatever he did. I didn't realise. I saw Jenny McCrindle's name come up, and when I think about the other things that she's been obviously looking after Jojo, it's kind of the part of Evelyn in this. It didn't really need an actress of the ability and magnitude of Jenny McCrindle because she's got nothing to do. The only emotional scene is when she's giving Bobby's marching orders. Yeah, otherwise it's basically just her with her clothes off. Either or kind of putting her clothes on or naked again in bed with Tambo. And it's like, well, you know, like I suppose for her, she probably took it because it was a film role and everything else. But I thought she kind of wasted a wee bit, you know?
Completely agree with you on that. Completely agree with you. She would have probably been better suited to a role in the third part, potentially, where you're getting to see a bit more. However, that's not taking anything away from the actress in the third part as well, who which we'll come on to. Right, I guess we just need to get on to it. What Bob's mum and dad got up to once they've kicked him out the house.
Outrageous, honest. I've forgotten about that scene, but
so
that's outrageous.
Bob comes in as a fly to visit his mum and dad, and his mum is pegging his dad up against the fireplace, asking him who he's been seeing. He's been seeing Dolly Parton, Anna Ford, and that Madonna, but just the once. She's right up to the hilt with the dildo that she's pegging him with, and then she's going to shite in his mouth. And good on Alex Howden, because the level of conviction when he's crying, "Don't shite in my mouth, don't shite in my mouth."
Yeah.
Shite in my mouth.
Fucking just dreadful.
And then the phone goes and it's Bob's sister on the phone, and just the way the mum just unclips herself from the strap on and goes over and answers the phone as Bob Senior is there, arms on the wall, sweating profusely. With
but
the dildo still up his backside.
Well, that's the thing. It's a thing. It's just this it's not lingering by any sense of the words, but neither is it really fleeting. So it's like the base of this fucking dildo just like between his arse cheeks when she goes to answer the phone. Oh my God. I mean, I watched this, so like yesterday, and this rarely happens, but I had what we would call, growing up in Glasgow, an empty, in the sense that I had the house to myself. It didn't happen all that often. So I thought, perfect opportunity to watch The Acid House. I can watch it on the telly. I don't have to watch it like on my laptop or something, like, you know, I can watch it on the TV, whatever. And I was so glad. So glad that there was nobody in. I was like, I mean, and the thing was, like, even if it had just been me and Paula in the house, I still would have felt a bit uncomfortable, because, what the fuck is this you're watching? Do you know what I mean?
I could just imagine, her in the kitchen and just hearing you watching something. Shite in my mouth. Oh, get it off, man, Bob. It's the interaction between them two is just so great, and it just makes it so funny of the ridiculousness of the situation.
Yeah.
But you can imagine Bob sees upset seeing this, and then of course gets swatted with a newspaper, and that's Bob, indeed.
Yeah. So poor old Bob.
I mean, they leave it kind of I think you see the fly kind of die. So when you see Bob there naked the next morning, you are meant to presume he's dead. In the book, because I did read this one again as well, and it does say that they come down in the morning and find him. It's actually under the sideboard, because he swats the fly and it goes down the sideboard. So he's lodged under it, but they call an ambulance, but he dies of massive internal injuries because being swatted with a newspaper, I guess.
Yeah. I think the close-up scenes where they act with the fly, I actually thought were quite well done. And it's especially that particular moment when she whacks him with the newspaper and we see him bounce off the carpet and the dust coming up off the carpet and stuff as he rolls along. I thought Stephen McCole could have tried a bit harder at presenting a sort of mangled body. He looks like fucking He looks like the way Morecambe and Wise used to leave the stage when he's, you know what I mean? One hand behind their back and one hand... Morecambe and Wise used to dance off and the curtains were closed on him.
Who is your favourite man trapped in a fly's body? Would you say it's Bob, Jeff Goldblum in The Fly, or Vincent Price in the original Fly, or Eric Stoltz in The Fly 2?
I mean, I think it's probably Brundle Fly up until the moment he takes his cock off and puts it in the bathroom cabinet. You know, it looks like quite good fun up until he has that big long sort of chest hair that Gina Davis pulls out or whatever. You know, that was the moment in that film when you realise that he's definitely fucked it.
So I guess the Granton Star Cause is very surreal in terms of God turning Bob into a fly. And we'll come on to part 3, the Acid House, which is also very surreal.
Yeah.
The second part, which I think obviously is in the middle of those two, a soft touch, which is Johnny, played by Kevin McKidd. He meets pregnant Katrina, played by Michelle Gomez, in the pub. A couple of months later, they're married, and then they're living in a
couple months earlier, they're married because it's a flashback, right?
Yes, you're right, actually. Yeah. Yes, right. I should say, sorry. They end up getting married. They have the kid, which isn't Johnny's, and they're living in a shabby apartment. But when their new neighbour, Larry, is moving in above them and Katrina is falling back into old habits, Johnny finds out that married life isn't what he thought it would be. So I think this is it's a kitchen sink drama, effectively.
Yeah.
And this is, I read a lot, as I say, of online reviews, and a lot of people said this or The Acid House was their favourite out of the three. Pretty much nobody I read picked Granton Star Cause as their favourite. This is fucking difficult to watch.
Yeah.
It's great. I really enjoyed it because it's realistic and it's I can kind of not relate to it, but you know what I mean. But it's fucking uncomfortable to watch at times and in places. It's horrific, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I think probably in terms of performances, I think Kevin McKidd's performance in this story is probably the best one in the film for me. Personally, you know, I think the scene that sums up how well he understands the character of Johnny is when he's taking the baby out in the pram when Larry's moving in and Larry's kind of blocking him with the boxes and stuff, and he ends up saying, well, do you want a hand? And Larry's like, oh yeah, great, and he's fucking, you know, he's like, whatever it is, he's taking the boxes in, and you know, but he's still trying to be kind of, you know, I'll give you a hand, but don't expect this all the time and that kind of stuff. And Larry's got the measure of him immediately, you know?
Oh, I mean, Larry's just a fucking evil bastard, though, of course.
Yeah.
So we got Katrina Michelle Gomez, who is a whore, basically, and is pregnant, married. In fact, is it established? Is it his kid? It's not his kid, is it? Because you see
not really
them getting married. No, it's not, because you have the conversation with the guys at the table, and they're all saying, "Yeah, it's lucky you'll get the child services on you, or it's the CSS or something, or." Looking for child support, because obviously they're insinuating the kid might be his, or it could be anyone's, because everyone was having a go on her apparently that night. So, has the kid, and then she's just kind of going back into her own ways. I mean, it coincides Larry moving in, and then he gives her 20 bar to go for a night out. And it's impressive drunk acting from Michelle Gomez, because she's like fucking hammered when she comes back in.
Yeah, she is. Yeah, and this was, is this, so I was going to ask you, because her name appears in the credits after Stephen McCole's, we have the introducing, I guess this would be her film debut as well. Maybe not like her on-screen debut, but like her film debut, maybe?
That is a very good point, actually. Potentially. It could be. Yes, it is. She's been in, she was in a TV movie, and then she was in the Tales of Parahandy for one episode in 94.
Right.
And this was indeed her film debut. Yeah. In
right,
1998,
okay. Yeah. So her, Gary McCormack, and Stephen McCole all making their film debuts.
Yeah.
Two of those actors have done quite well.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say so. Yeah. I mean, yeah, she's a fucking horrible, grubby character in terms of, she's an absolute bitch. She's got no care and consideration for her kids, but she's fucking brilliant in this as well, though. She's great.
Yeah, she's like going 100 miles an hour for sure. You know, she's I always think like Michelle Gomez she's a very striking, attractive woman. You know what I mean? But very, very striking features. And I always think like when people like that agree to, because like when we see her at the start of the sequence when she's pregnant again, her hair is all wank and like unwashed and stuff. Her skin's all kind of fallow and grey and stuff like that. You know, like I always think like when actors like her are willing to, because like to see her normally with no makeup on, she's probably as gorgeous as she is when she's made up and on the screen. But to allow herself to be completely made down for that scene, and you know the sex scenes that she does with Larry as well. I mean, they're fucking horrible and degrading for her character particularly, and she fucking just goes for it. And like, when you think of the stuff that she's done since, I mean, she's been on Doctor Who, you know. You know what I mean? She's done all this. She's done tons. She does a voice on like the 101 Dalmatians cartoon. She plays Cruella de Vil. She's done like tons of stuff since this, and you always wonder. Like sometimes sort of shittier newspapers and things like to dredge up stuff that actors or actresses have done early in their career, you know, especially if they become very successful. I mean, like, the famous one was Stallone, who had done some sort of soft porn film, hadn't he, like in the 70s. And he's basically he's in the shower washing his cock or something like that, and it, you know, that came back to haunt him a bit after he found fame with like Rocky and the stuff he did afterwards. And this has never come back to Michelle Gomez, even when she did the Green Wing and everything else. But yeah, I mean, the fact she's just like just goes for it, and she's really good in it.
I think I mean, you don't need to worry about the sex scenes because, as Larry says, the pole is well greased as he is going at it. I loved it. It's just the natural chemistry between the three of them. And there's only like two scenes, I think, where you have the three of them in it. And one is when, unfortunately, Johnny's getting his fucking head kicked in. But even that, I'll come back to that in terms of Katrina's, the abuse she's given him is just incredible. But when they're sat on the sofa, when Johnny comes home and Larry and Katrina are there, and he's asking her about, you know, the hushed whispers of you don't even ken what the Baron's got on today. And it's the Cerise. And, you know, who's Cerise? And was it like you can't even spell pink? And Michelle Gomez like P-I ink or something. It's just the natural kind of the uncomfortableness you feel in that scene, but the way they're all acting. And then of course when Larry's just like, Bruce Willis, die harder. You're kind of, you know, you're like, you fucking arsehole. But then as you say, Johnny's like, well, what can he do? He's just put upon. He's like, he doesn't have the balls to stand up to Larry in this instance. He knows exactly what's going on, but he just doesn't have the balls to do it.
Right, well, I've got a wee test for you, darling, eh?
Oh, test, right.
What colour clothes she wearing today, eh? What colour clothes she wearing? Do you take any fucking notice? What
Cerise.
Cerise? Cerise? It was fucking pink, eh?
Hey,
right, eh?
Johnny, I was watching that, man.
Sorry, man. Eh? Pink, right? Fucking pink.
I know what pink is.
Right, no
P-I-N-K.
Cerise. Aye, fucking pink. You got that? Right, fine.
Who's Cerise? Who's Cerise?
Who's that? It's a colour, eh? It's pink, right?
It's a colour.
Aye. Right?
Yeah, and that scene that you mentioned there when she sort of lures them into the back green behind the close, and then they both set about him. Do you know what I mean? It's not just like Larry obviously gives it to him a lot worse, but she's, you know, she's kind of beating him up as well and all that, and you know, there's nothing they can do. Everyone's sort of hanging out their windows watching. Nobody's moving to intervene, you know, and it's established that no one looks surprised when they're looking out the window. You know what I mean? It's like, well, this sort of thing happens in the neighbourhood all the time. No one's looking out the window looking horrified or anything.
You know, and as she's kicking him, she's screaming, and maybe a spoiler for later on, "Blooter that bastard, kill the fucking cunt, you fucking knob. He's got our fucking electricity, he's got my fucking bairn. Go back to your ma, lick your ma's fucking piss flaps, you fucking cunt."
Again, that is taken right out of Irvine Welsh's books, because that's the sort of stuff he has his characters say.
Well, I went and reread, A Soft Touch, and that is word for word exactly what is said in the book.
Yeah, because Irvine Welsh, he wrote the script for this, right?
Yeah, he did, yeah.
Yeah. He's written, So, yeah.
And it's a shame because obviously Larry takes over. Katrina and Larry move upstairs. They take his TV, they take his video, they take his electricity. You know, the whole scene of Larry putting a sledgehammer through the ceiling to put the cord down. And that's, again, Larry nearly, goes for him, but Johnny nearly goes for him, but he can't. And then he just has enough and kind of snaps, boards up, gets a kick in, and then, he's getting his life back on track. He's working at the supermarket, stocking up the Iron Brew and stuff. He's flirting with a girl who looks a lot nicer than Katrina. She looks lovely, and they seem to be getting on well. So, it's but I guess Johnny just can't help himself because
he just can't resist that bandit in the Bull and Bush.
The Bull and Bush. It was a good bandit. Good bandit. That was a good bandit. I agree with you though. Kevin McKidd's performance is just absolutely brilliant in this. He's just so good as put down upon. He's got his little rat's tash type thing,
little Boise.
It's but he's just put upon, and of course Alison Peoples playing his mum as well, with a couple of good scenes with her and interaction, and you can tell what she thinks of Katrina. But a really difficult 35 minutes to watch. I enjoyed it because of the performances, because they are all great in terms of Michelle Gomez, and even Larry. He's fucking fantastic as well. Of course, I could have done without seeing his cock quite so much in terms of when he's dancing to T-Rex. To Hot Love by T-Rex, but it's what it is. I think it's needed for the character, and of course you're getting to see him doing his push-ups and stuff. But yeah, I think overall, very well acted, very well done, but very uncomfortable to watch.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's fucking not nice at all. Just I seen anybody who can't, it just surrenders to a shitty situation. We've seen people, we've known people over the years, I'm sure you and I, who, not to that extent, but people who you just fucking walk away. You know what I mean? Just leave it alone. Although I did question why Larry is showing like a baby Postman Pat videos. Can't even show you your Postman Pat video. I'm like, just fucking, she's about 6 months old. I don't think there's a fuck about Postman Pat.
That's just some colours and stuff on in the background. It's better than making her watch Die Harder, I suppose.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So I guess the third part of the Acid House is the Acid House, which features Coco fucking Bryce, played by Ewen Bremner, who takes some acid in the pub. He has a bit of a bad trip. He flees outside into a thunderstorm, gets hit by lightning, which triggers a strange phenomenon and puts him in the body of Martin Clunes and Gemma Redgrave's baby boy Tom. Now, where to start with this? Ewen Bremner turning it up to 11 as Coco fucking Bryce. Coco and Kirsty, lovely young couple. They're obviously into their rave music and enjoying stuff. They're in the pub. He's drinking his hooch, and he takes a Super Mario. I can only presume they couldn't get the licensing rights to Super Mario because it's more like a devil's face, but they still mention it's a Super Mario.
I think that's a safe assumption.
But yeah, there's a lightning storm, and basically he gets transported into the body of a newborn baby.
So let's talk a bit about Ewen Bremner, because I think there's always going to be a big Spud-sized place in our hearts for Ewen Bremner, because his portrayal of Spud is so close to the book. And even before I saw the film, Ewen Bremner wasn't a million miles away in his physical appearance from how I envisioned Spud when I read the book for the first time. When I saw him as Spud, it just made total sense. But he seems like a nice fella, but I just, in creation stories and this and like some of the other stuff he's done, I don't know, it's especially in this, it does not come across like a fucking top boy in a Hibs firm at all. You know what I mean? He's a slight guy. I don't know. I just found it difficult to. It was better when he was doing the voice of the baby, and when he was playing the sort of the kind of infantilized Coco, who's like essentially an adult baby. Fucking brilliant at that. You know what I mean? Excellent. But as Coco, it's a hard sell.
I completely agree with you. I think when he's in the hospital bed screaming and being the baby and grabbing his friends, and he's brilliant as portraying a baby kind of trapped in a man's body. As the voice of the baby, he's fucking brilliant. He's got genuinely some of the most laugh out loud lines. You mentioned it earlier when they're in the park and he sees a fly and he goes, "Bob, that's Bob Coyle." I just burst out laughing. And of course, when he's getting breastfed and he's like, "Geesh your paps," and Shut it, you specky cunt. It's absolutely brilliant. However, I agree, I don't believe Bob Coyle as this top boy, hard man, Hibs, crew, one of the kind of main, when he's speaking as the baby, and he's like, we'll go in the away end, and start swedging, but it's not till after the match that, the real stuff happens. You're like, I don't believe that for a second. You're a wee kind of wiry guy, you've got it good with this Kirsty. She seems to really love you, she's just a very nice girl. Again, maybe this would have been a better role for Jenny McCrindle to play, possibly.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But she, seems to really like him. And I guess Coco's had a bad childhood, as we see, with his dad, Maurice Roeves, asking for 20 fucking regal. A very surreal scene. Christ, Maurice Roeves was fucking built like a brick shithouse, even, back in the day. Like, he's a big lad.
Yeah, it wasn't, that's like the actor's name's Doug Eady, but he does look a lot like Maurice Roeves.
Oh, I thought that was Maurice Roeves.
I did as well. I was sure it was him. And so I looked him up and I was like, oh, it's not, but he looks just like him.
Yeah.
I get why you would have thought it was him.
Oh, who was he? Oh, he was just a drunk. No. Who was he? It was the priest, of course, sorry.
It was a priest,
yeah. Oh, I thought that was Maurice Roeves. I genuinely did think that was him. But yeah, I don't know if I believe him as this, hard nutcase that he's portrayed to be. He's a raver. He goes out and takes LSD. He's talking about resurrection. Sorry, he's talking about resurrection and, how Ingleson Market, it was going to be like, 20,000 or something. And, he's a big Hibs boy. I just didn't believe him as this football hooligan.
No, definitely not. Arlene Cockburn, another Pans who plays Kirsty, I thought was really good, and she is rocking those 90s fashions.
Yeah,
the little short skirt, trainers, t-shirt, little sort of tank girl kind of bunchies and stuff.
Little rucksack, like backpack type thing. Yeah, that was one thing. We touched upon it earlier with in terms of the first story with Jenny McCrindle and her fashion. I thought exactly the same for this with Kirsty. It was very much kind of that peak, 97, 98 kind of fashion. That brought back a lot of memories for me.
Yeah, definitely. And Jenna Redgrave. So more recently, she's been quite famous for being in Doctor Who. And she looks great in this. I mean, I know she's a lot younger. She's really good. Martin Clunes, I'm sort of surprised to see Martin Clunes in there, because this is kind of peak men behaving badly time.
Yeah,
and I could have lived to have been 200 years old and been quite happy never to see Martin Clunes' sex face.
Fair enough. Yeah, I can go with you on that. I mean, it does lead to a very good scene in terms of where Coco, as the baby, Bob, is watching them have sex.
Yeah.
And then he has a wank.
Yes.
Get in here, make your fucking Jackson. I'm with you. Get in there. What? Fucking boom, right? Doggy style at all. You talking to me for that? Eyes on the fucking job.
What is it?
Slap that cow.
What the fuck is it?
What you fucking waiting for?
Baby.
Boring.
I mean, like he was standing up in his cot and looking at us.
Yeah, I can agree with you on that. And of course, but then Rory's meant to come across as a bit of a posh arsehole. And I think, Jen sees that because she wants to take Tom away from it, because she blames him effectively for Tom stroke Coco drinking
getting pissed.
a couple of sips out of a miniature bottle of Glenmorangie that was almost finished anyway.
Yeah. Where does she want to take him? Like Chisholm or somewhere like that?
Yeah, Chisholm, Manchester, just outside Manchester, yeah. And that's when he starts talking to her. And she's quite, she's not disturbed at all by the fact that her baby is talking to her. And I'd say she's slightly disturbed, but she's not disturbed by the language he comes out with, because every second word is fuck or something.
Yeah.
And she seems to be okay with that.
The puppet of the baby, though, I mean, I know it's different times. I suppose they would probably figure it out in CGI now if they were going to do it, but it doesn't look real.
No, I mean,
it
doesn't. But then I do wonder if they maybe did that on purpose, because they were I wonder if they tried to make it look real and they were realising that, we can't do this. So they were like, right, fuck it. Let's just make it look like it's like we're taking the piss almost.
Right.
Because it's nothing. I mean, it looks better than the baby from Trainspotting, which crawls on the ceiling.
It's going to be a tribute to Baby Dawn.
I did wonder, because that's, a horrific looking baby, but surely you've got better dolls. Fucking 1984, 84, Child's Play, was that 86? That's a better looking fucking doll than the one that they've got here. They could have probably got something better, but I wonder if they did that on purpose. But it kind of works. Like, instantly I was like, oh, it's an ugly looking baby, but it didn't take me out of it completely thinking, oh, it's just, I am not believing that this baby is, wanting a bit more of tit, or asking what is it about posh cunts and fucking parks? I'm not really believing that point. So it didn't take me out of it, so to speak.
Yeah, I don't know. Of the three, I probably enjoyed this one the least. And I think it's a combination of Ewen Bremner in the beginning of it and the kind of rubber baby, And I don't know. I mean, I know he's not a Scottish actor, but never really been a massive fan of Martin Clunes. Do you know what I mean? And the stuff I've seen him in. Like, I used to watch Men Behaving Badly, as we all did. Yeah. Like in the kind of the mid-90s, But I don't know. Like, I didn't really watch. I always preferred Neil Morrissey's character to Martin Clunes' character in Men Behaving Badly. You know what I mean? I just felt he was a bit kind of simpering, and he's a bit like that in this as well. He's just sort of kind of put upon to some extent, a bit posh, a bit annoying. Even his wife finds him a bit tiresome, before she finds the little miniature that he's dropped in the baby's cot and stuff, and I don't know, just and that whole sequence actually seemed a little bit weird, because she's gone from being like I think in the book. In the story in the book, if I remember it right, it does build the sort of breakup of their relationship a lot more, and reasons behind it and stuff, and the kind of jealousy that he has for baby Tom. But she sort of goes from finding him a bit sort of tiresome and annoying to we're just going to leave him. But you never see his reaction to the course of action that she decides to take.
No, you don't see him again, do you? After
that's it,
that
at all. So it's like, well, what's it? Why would you get somebody like Martin Clunes in for it when you could have got anybody, really, But no, like I felt like the last story was the kind of weakest. I mean, it's got good moments, but
yeah.
I thought the first two stories were better.
I would agree with you, and as I say, I think a lot of the reviews I read online, a lot of people said that this third one was their favourite, and I did not agree. Like, I liked it. It was okay. I thought as you say, the funniest parts are really some of Ewen Bremner's lines when he's the baby. Definitely the Bob Coyle part, but otherwise, I kind of done without it. There was too much Coco fucking Bryce, clips of Hibs casuals and Roeves and stuff that I kind of could have done without. So I wasn't a huge fan of this third part. Definitely.
No, like I definitely found when it finished, I was like, oh, thank fuck. I'm glad it's over, because the film itself the film was only I think it's just over 90 minutes, right? Maybe like 100 minutes. It's not a particularly long film. But by the time this last story was about halfway through, I was like, fucking hell, sort of looking at my watch and kind of wanted this to be over.
I think, again, even comparing it was compared to Trainspotting quite a lot because of course, Irvine Welsh.
Yeah.
Even the soundtrack. The soundtrack is quite good. It's got Primal Scream, Cave, Oasis, Bentley Rhythm Ace. Remember them?
Yeah. It's got the soundtrack is excellent.
Beth Orton, Bell and Sebastian, T-Rex, Arab Strap, Chemical Brothers. It's not as good as Trainspotting's soundtrack, though, is it? So it's like another kind of tick of it's good, but it's not as good as Trainspotting.
Yeah. It's maybe got more for the sort of serious music aficionado, you could say, maybe than Trainspotting had. Trainspotting's got like Damon Albarn on there. It's got Sleeper, who were big at the time, and Brian Eno and The Scream obviously appear in Trainspotting as well. But yeah, the soundtrack is very, very good, and you've reminded me to go and get the playlist from the soundtrack and put it and sort of chip it off iTunes, because it was a good soundtrack.
So we've had quite a few, as I mentioned earlier, in terms of Irvine Welsh adaptations in Trainspotting, The Ast House, Ecstasy, Filth, Porno was made into T2. We've got Crime, and hopefully The Blade Artist is coming soon. I know it's still in kind of pre-production. Is there anything else that hasn't been done you would like to see made into a film or TV series?
I've always liked the idea of doing a TV series of Skag Boys. You know, the sort of, the kind of young characters from Trainspotting, and because I really enjoyed the book. I think I've read it maybe as many as 4 times since it came out in 2012. So yeah, it would be good to see, and I think there's a case for doing a TV series of Trainspotting, I think, as well. And not to take anything away from the film. I think the film can exist as well, but the thing that I always found frustrating with the film was that I wanted to spend more time with the characters, and the film moves quickly, and it's only 90 minutes, and it's done. So maybe that's the mark of a good film, sort of leaving you wanting more. But I just think the characters are so engaging. You know, even a character like Begbie, who is the last sort of person you'd want to spend any time with, but he's engaging, and you want to see what he's going to do and how he's going to react to things. And I think how they're portrayed in the first Trainspotting film compared to T2, I did it as much as I enjoyed T2. It didn't leave me wanting to spend more time with the characters in the same way that Trainspotting did. So it would be good to have a TV series of it where they flesh out the characters more than they're able to do in the film, and you learn more about Renton and his disabled brother Stevie, and more about Billy, and more about like Sick Boy and his sisters and his Italian sort of shagger dad and everything. I think it would be good. You know, I would enjoy it. I'd like to see. Well, I'm saying I'd enjoy it. I might not enjoy it. I might not do it very well, but I would like to see it on the screen. What about you? Which one would you like to see that you haven't seen already?
You know what? I agree with you on that. I would love to see an adaptation of Skag Boys. I don't particularly want to see a Trainspotting TV series. However, because those characters are so iconic, you know, in terms of recasting stuff, I'm not ready for that yet. I don't want to see anyone else play Begbie apart from Robert Carlyle. However, if they did Skag Boys as a kind of young, then went into a Trainspotting, kind of like a This Is England type thing, then I could live with that. But that leads to what I would actually love to see made into a TV series along the way of kind of This Is England is Glue.
It's Glue.
I'd love to see that.
I forgot about Glue.
I would love to see that because it's, you know, one of the best. However, what I would really love to see is a decent ride made into a film. But that would have to be like a Confessions of a Window Cleaner type film with Robin Asquith. Like, I mean, there's no way you could make a decent ride into a film. But I want to see Juice Terry on screen. I just want to see him pop up in like series 2 of Crime somewhere in the background, even if he's just running away in a taxi or something. I want to see Juice Terry on screen.
I'd forgotten about Glue. I think Glue is probably my favourite book of Irvine Welsh's, and I've read it probably more than any other one apart from maybe Trainspotting. But I do understand where you're coming from with Trainspotting, and I think it's because, you know, Trainspotting was such a sort of cultural it's such like a sort of cultural behemoth for our generation when it came out. You know what I mean? I was 17 when I saw Trainspotting at the cinema when it came out, and when I read the book, you know, I turned 18 later that year. But when you think about your life at that time, you know, you're just on the sort of thresholds of becoming an adult. You're sort of behaving in a lot of ways like an adult. You're going to the pub, probably doing things that you know you shouldn't be doing. Chances are you're probably still living at home at the same time. Do you know what I mean? But still, it's such a you're really transitioning. When you're about to leave school, you're about to go to college or start work or go to university or whatever. So something like Trainspotting, and because it's set in Scotland with Scottish actors, and it was massive. I mean, like, Trainspotting was fucking massive,
huge
when it came out. And I think it's easy to forget that because it's, you know, it's like 27 years ago or something now. So I totally understand, you know, it would be difficult to imagine another actor playing Begbie at the age that he is in Trainspotting. in the age of Robert Carlyle was in Trainspotting and later on T2. I know you're coming from.
It's just going to feel like a parody, whoever does it. Like, and
Yeah.
no matter who does it, no matter how great they are, it's always going to feel like a parody. And I think we covered this on when we did T2, available wherever you get your podcasts. But T2 isn't a great film, but I think the reason I love it, and I think you really enjoyed it as well, it's for nostalgia. Because every time I see those guys back on screen playing those characters, I'm just transported back to 1996 watching Trainspotting.
Yeah.
And every time I see Begbie on screen and just the interactions between Mark and Simon, that scene where fucking Mark walks into Simon's pub and sees him for the first time. Oh my fucking God. I could watch that scene over and over again.
Yeah.
Just Simon's reaction, just the, long time, Mark. Where have you been?
Yeah. What have you been up to for 20 years?
Well, you've been up to for 20 years. Yeah. That's it. It's just, oh, God, the chills of that. And, that'll never get taken away in terms of, say T2 has its faults. But for that reason, love it.
Everything that those actors did between the release of Trainspotting and the release of T2, to varying levels of success, but certainly Ewan McGregor, Johnny Lee Miller and Robert Carlyle have done a lot of very high profile stuff, and for them to come back together as those characters for that sequel all those years later, like 20 years later, it's special. You know what I mean? It's really special. I think the reason that I would like to see Skag Boys as far as Begbie goes is because in Skag Boys, Begbie, the character is, he's not quite gone full fucking nutcase.
Yeah.
Like he does over the course of the story. But, there's still elements of like the young guy, a little bit of sensitivity here and there. The elements of actually being a good mate as opposed to what Begbie believes is a good mate and why he's a great mate in like Trainspotting and stuff.
Yeah.
He is actually in some cases a decent good friend to the other guys.
Yeah.
As much as they're wary of him because he is, he's still a violent guy. That would be an interesting sort of development to see on the screen. But you'd have to have a phenomenal actor and not somebody who's just trying to do an impression of Robert Carlyle.
Yeah. No, I agree, and that's where I think you would come a cropper. But I really want to read Skag Boys again now. I think that's what I'm going to read next. Now you've put that in my head.
I just read it. I just read it like last year or the year before. We read it. It's really good.
Okay, well, anything else on the Acid House? Because we've just spoken about Trainspotting for the last 10 minutes. So I guess that tells you what we think about the Acid House. I have to say, Paul McGuigan, the director, Scottish director, obviously he did Gangster Number 1. He did Lucky Number 11, which is a film I love. I really like that film. And he did a great film which isn't very well known. And the only reason I watched it is because the Postal Service, which is a band, the lead singer of Death Cab for Cutie, Ben Gibbard, has a side project called the Postal Service with this other guy.
Right.
And it's kind of experimental indie. And they did a cover of Phil Collins' Against All Odds, which is genuinely one of my favourite covers of all time. This cover. I love Against All Odds, but this cover is amazing. And it was on this film called Wicker Park, which stars Josh Hartnett and Rose Byrne, which was directed by Paul McGuigan. And it's a really...
I've not seen it.
It's a weird film. It's about this guy who meets this girl, kind of falls in love, and then she goes missing, and then her roommate kind of... It's a weird film. But it's quite good. But yeah, he's, done quite a few decent films. I'd say Lucky Number 11. I really like that film.
I like that film too, yeah. And he's done quite a lot of stuff on TV as well. He's directed an episode of the Dracula series that was on. He's done a couple of Sherlocks. He must be friends with Stephen Moffat, who is the producer on those shows. But I think I feel like he was maybe under a bit of pressure to, like I said earlier on, to emulate some of the style of Trainspotting in this film.
So I guess that covers us on Irvine Welsh, probably until we do Crime Season 2, unless, because the only thing we've got left to do is Ecstasy, which, as we've said, is nothing to do, and it's fucking shite, that film as well.
Yeah, it's fucking... I don't want to do that.
All right. So the next Irvine Welsh we will cover will be Season 2 of Crime, whenever that comes out. Shall we put the Acid House through the Swally Awards?
I think we should. So the first category is the Bobby the Barman Award for the best pub in the film.
Now, I am right in that it's a different pub that Bob and the football team drinking, and then Bob meets Godin. That is a different pub, isn't it? Because the Puggy's in a different place.
I mean, I didn't notice it for that like detail that you've really gone into there, but it did feel like a different. My choice was actually the pub that Bob meets Godin. Like the pub after the game felt a bit sort of Yates Wine Lodge.
I was just a way to say it felt a bit Witherspoonsy. So we're kind of, and I don't want to go to the pub that Coco drinks in. That's too Hibs for my liking. So the
windows.
The pub that Bob meets Godin, definitely. That would be my choice too. So there we go.
Belter,
we have a winner there.
Yep. And then the next one, I mean, fuck me, you could have any number of people here, but the James Cosmo Award for being in everything Scottish. Who'd you pick?
I picked Barbara Rafferty purely because she has 46 entries on IMDb,
right,
and every single one of them is Scottish. I went through every single entry she's in, and that's just including, I mean, like, Rabsy Nesbitt is one entry, where she's been in fucking 9 seasons of it. Every single thing Barbara Rafferty has been in is Scottish, so I gave it to her. What about you?
That's a good shout. So, I was going to choose Ken Anderson, but then I realised that Ken Anderson's not in it. It's an actor called Stuart Preston, who is not dissimilar in appearance to Ken Anderson. True. He plays Bob's boss, Rafferty. But I thought there was quite a strong case for Maurice Roeves.
Yeah,
but I don't think it's as strong as the case you've just presented for Barbara Rafferty. So we'll give it to Babs.
I mean, there's a case for Stephen McCole, because I would say he is currently in second place in the Swally tally right now on 10 appearances. He's tied with Peter Mullen, but Alex Norton is still in front with 13 appearances. So, little Swally tally update there for you.
I mean, perhaps the most surprising thing about the Acid House is that Alex Norton doesn't appear somewhere.
That's a good point, actually. Yeah, that's a very good point. Must have been busy that day. He'd have been in Taggart at this time, wasn't he?
Yeah, it might have been, actually. Yeah. Maybe away on his holidays. Okay, next one then. No small amount of choices for this one, but the Ewan McGregor Award for gratuitous nudity.
I fucking take your pick. I mean, there's a lot of sex scenes. In terms of gratuitous, I would probably give it to either the scene we talked about earlier, Jenny McCrindle getting dressed, or Larry
Hot Love
getting his cock out to Hot Love. I think I'll give it to Larry, actually.
Yeah. Larry needs to buy a shower curtain, because that bathroom... That bathroom floor would have been soaking after. Okay, next then, the Francis Begbie Award for gratuitous swearing. Let's give it to Irvine Welsh for writing the script.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, is that your pick, Irvine Welsh? I mean, I went with pretty much the whole God speech to Bob, but I also did give it to Michelle Gomez's rant, which I recited earlier. What about you?
I picked part of the God monologue. I picked the "you're claimed cunt," just because the term "you're claimed," when if someone says that to somebody that they're about to set about, I just think I've always thought is really funny. No one's ever said it to me, thankfully, but before they beat me up. But yeah, "you're claimed cunt," because he says it twice.
Yeah,
he says it, and then it seems like Bob might have sort of dissuaded him, and then he comes back and just says it again.
Now you fucking claimed, Raj.
But I'm not the worst. What about the murderers, serial killers, dictators, torturers, politicians, cunts that shut down factories to preserve their profit levels? All they greedy rich bastards, what about them, eh?
Might get round to they cunts. Might not. That's my fucking business. You're claimed cunt. You're a piece of slime coil. An insect.
Okay, next then, the Jake McQuillan Your Tease Out Award. What did you go for here?
Now, tease out, because this is kind of more of an act of kind of, you deserve that, isn't it? Or
well,
or just someone getting a kick in.
For me, I've always sort of based it on
act of violence,
an abrupt act of violence.
I mean, the abrupt act of violence is poor Johnny getting a kick in from Katrina and Larry, but I would say tease out, if that's a kind of McCafferty or tease out, as in you're a way to get what you deserve, then it's Johnny slapping Katrina in the face just before he gets a kick in from Katrina and Larry.
Yeah, maybe. I think there's also a case for Tam Dean Burns' assault on the young guy for talking about his sister at the wedding as well. But then just in terms of how it plays out. I don't think anybody deserves any violence that happens to them in this film, apart from maybe, to your point, Katrina getting a wee bit of a slap for the way that she's just been horrendous to Johnny. But then, you shouldn't really hit a lassie, mate,
Well, but then you could say, I mean, if you're going down that route, then maybe Bob Sr. deserves all the pain for seeing Dolly Parton, Anna Ford, and that Madonna, just the once, like.
Shite your mum. Fucking hell. Once again, so glad that I was home alone watching that film. Right, moving on before we get into trouble. Archetypal Scottish moment.
God drinking 80 shilling.
Mick God having a pint of 80 shilling.
Either that or just the whole language, just every when you hear like a cowp or that's pure Barry, it just God drinking 80 shilling. What'd you go with?
Well, I went for something a bit more romantic. So the scene where Johnny goes to see his mum, she's sitting on the green outside the tenement. Mm-hmm. And she's, because the sun's out, she's got the baby there in the blanket with the kind of umbrella, keeping the sun off the baby and stuff. Like, my granny used to live in a tenement, and she, on a nice day, her and her neighbours would go down and sit on the green. And it just seems like a really Scottish thing to me, that, to do that.
Oh, no, I like that. I prefer that. Let's go with that.
Yeah, as opposed to everybody calling everybody else a cunt for 90 minutes. And then the last one then, who do you think won the film?
I think we kind of spoke about this earlier. I mean, Maurice Roeves as God is brilliant. Michelle Gomez, I think, is fantastic, but it's Kevin McKidd for me.
Yep. I had Kevin McKidd. I've written here Kevin McKidd for his performance, although somebody should have maybe showed him how to hold a baby, because he's fucking the ways holding that baby. I mean, oh my God, the mother must have been having kittens watching them. I think there's a case for 90s fashion.
Yes, true, yeah.
But I think, coming back to what I said earlier, I think there's a case for Irvine Welsh, because what I said earlier, I mean, it is the truest sort of version of his work that I think has ever been on the screen, Yeah,
you're right. Because as we say, like, obviously Trainspotting was a little bit toned down. Then we had this, and then we had Ecstasy and nothing really till Filth. And even Filth is Filth is fucking a horrific film. But I don't mean it's horrific, it's a fucking brilliant film. But it's brutal. But even that's pretty toned down from the book.
Yeah, massively.
So yeah, I would say you're probably right, because this is disgusting in terms of this film. Yes. So yeah, you're right. This probably is the most truest adaptation you'll get to Irvine Welsh ever, because I can't see them ever making anything like this ever again.
No, definitely not. I mean, in the other books of his, even if they made Skag Boys into a TV series, I think there's elements of that book that would be left out, and probably for good reason.
Yeah. And as I say, I think the only chance I'm ever going to get to see a decent ride in film format is if the good people at Brazzers or Bang Bus make it, to be honest.
Bang Brothers.
Is Bang Brothers still going? I don't know. It's been a long time since I've heard that.
Pornhub presents.
It's probably not far off, mate, to be honest. Okay, well, that was the wonderful world of the Acid House. And that was my choice, Greg. So it's your choice on the Swally next episode. So why don't you tell us what we're going to be talking about next time?
Well, you and I have been doing this podcast for quite a long time now. And I think that we've become pretty good at it. I think we're pretty good podcasters. So I'm going to link back to something that I mentioned earlier in the podcast. So a lot of things are celebrating their 40th anniversaries in 1983. Like the Return of the Jedi, the only Star Wars film I ever saw at the cinema. It's the only one that I was old enough to see at the cinema, is going through its 40th anniversary. You can go and see it at the cinema right now. You could go and book tickets to go and see it. Local Hero, a favourite of ours, celebrating its 40th anniversary. But I think, you and I are both very emotionally connected to the city of Aberdeen. You're obviously from there. You're a big fan of Aberdeen Football Club. I spent a lot of formative years there. Also have a big place in my heart. But it's the 40th anniversary of Aberdeen winning the European Cup. And the BBC have got a fantastic documentary called Once in a Lifetime. And it's all big moustaches, unlikely looking by modern day standards, football geniuses. So I would like to watch and review the BBC documentary Aberdeen 83 Once in a Lifetime.
I can't believe you've actually picked it. I know you threatened to on the chat. Can I just point out, by the way, we didn't win the European Cup. It was the European Cup Winners' Cup, which is a different trophy because the European Cup is now the Champions League. That's a very different trophy that we never actually won. Wow, I can't believe you actually picked that. I can't wait to talk about that because obviously I watched it last week when it came out. And now I'm going to have to watch it again to make notes for the podcast and probably cry all over again because I enjoyed it so much. I'll be honest, listeners, if you want to listen to the next episode, I won't hold back. I'll be as biased and gushing as I probably am. Wow, I can't believe you picked that, Greg. Thank you very much.
We're probably not going to have any Swally awards because there wasn't any gratuitous nudity. Maybe a couple of fouls for the Great McQuillan Award, but yeah, maybe a slight alteration to the format next time.
Yeah, I don't think there's probably some swearing, a couple of tease-outs. I don't think there's any nudities. Probably a few Scottish moments. I don't know about it being everything Scottish. We'll see.
Yeah. James Cosmo didn't play for the 1983 Aberdeen lineup.
No, he didn't, unfortunately. But McKidd maybe. No, we didn't need him. We didn't fucking need him. I won the European Cup Winners' Cup. Beat Real Madrid. Still the last team to beat Real Madrid in a European Cup final. But we'll come all to that in the next episode. Yeah. That's going to be a very Nicky-centric episode. Thanks very much for picking that, Craig. All right. Well, and of course, that is available on YouTube as well, if anyone wants to watch it before the next episode. Okay, well, thank you very much for listening, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you want to get in touch with us with anything you'd like us to review or any news stories you'd like us to cover, then you can get in touch with us by emailing us on cultureswally@gmail.com. And please follow us on the socials at Culture Swally Pod or on Twitter at Swally Pod. And please, wherever you get your podcasts, if it's on Apple, please give us a little rating, review, subscription. It helps the podcast grow. And remember, DoricSkateboards.com to claim your 15% off with the code SWALLY. And Greg, we have a lovely, wonderful website as well, don't we?
We do indeed. You can find us at cultureswally.com. Links to all the episodes. We'll put a link on there too to the Doric Skateboards website, so you can go and avail the offer and check out Gary's gear. Yeah, that's it.
Magic. Well, cool fucking Bryce. What are you up to the rest of the day, Greg?
I'm waiting to have my dinner in a minute. Maybe an early night, try and shake off this bastard of a cold. Have a couple more cans of this delicious Crew Republic Drunken Sailor IPA. Other IPAs are available. And yeah, get an early night, I think. What about you?
Well, of course, I'm going to probably go and subject my wife to watching Aberdeen 83 Once in a Lifetime. It's about time she saw just exactly what Aberdeen has to offer. And I'll tell the story in the next episode of when I took her to her first Aberdeen game and her only Aberdeen game, probably. All right, wonderful. Okay, well, I will look forward to speaking to you in a couple of weeks, Greg. Until next time.
Until next time.
You fucked this one up, you daft cunt.
Eh? What?
You, Bob Coyle. Nae hoose, nae job, nae bird, nae mates, police records, serve ribs on the space of a few hours. Nice one.
How the fuck do you ken my business, eh? What the fuck's it got to do with you, eh?
It's my fucking business to know. I'm God.
Wait to fuck you, old Raj.
Fucking hell, another wise cunt.